Мне жаль этого сотрудника. Как его там зовут?
Акадима, господин директор. Рокуру Акадима.
Jerome, you got here so fast. Hello. How's it going, bud? Oh, this is a different version. I'm spending most of my life living in a gangster's paradise. Spending most of my life living in a gangster's paradise. Situation that got me facing. I can't live a normal life. I was raised by the struggle, so I gotta be down with the hood team. Television watching got me chasing. Death ain't nothing but a heartbeat away. I'm living life to a die. Why are we so blind to see one's real? Are you and me? Spending most of my life living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most of my life living in a gangster's paradise. Hey, what's up, dude? How you doing? Living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most of life living in a gangster's paradise. Doing good, Dave. How about you? Oh, this is a hardcore version. Okay. I'm doing good, thank you for asking. Appreciate it. Most of life living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most of life living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most of life living in a gangster's paradise. Are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? Oh, cool, no worries. Thank you, I appreciate it, Dave. Thanks for always stopping by. You're the sweetest. I love you, bro. Love you.
Fuck you.
Been spending most of lives living in a gangster's paradise. At risk of the copyright yelling at me, we're gonna listen to some Tupac. I kind of want to listen to the OG version now. Who else was on that track? Gangster's Paradise. Was it just Tupac? No, it's Coolio, Tupac, Snoop Dogg, B.I.G., Notorious Big. Bro, I saw Coolio in person. Not at a concert, but at the restaurant I used to work at for South by Southwest.
Why is Amazon paying me
That's pretty cool. So why are we so... Wait, is there a lyrics version? I gotta get the lyrics right for when I do a cover.
As I
Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I realize there's nothing left.
I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lined in chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta low. As they croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be.
Chronic, you wanna say hi? She's just like sitting here. Spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most their lives living in a gangster's paradise. We've spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. We keep spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Yeah, they got me faking. Oh, facing. I was raised by the state. Gotta get down with the hood team. Too much television watching me, chasing my dreams. Educated fool with money on my mind. Got my tan in my hand and a gleam in my eye. Locked out gangster, set trip and banger. And my homies are so down with them manga. I've never tried to rap this part. I gotta learn it. 24. Me, why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? They've been spending most their lives living in a gangster's paradise. They're spending most their lives living in a gangster's paradise. We keep spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Living in a gangster's paradise.
Power and the money and the power. Minute after minute,
hour after hour.
Everybody's running, but half of them ain't looking what's going on in the kitchen. But I don't know what's cooking. They say I got to learn, but nobody's here to teach me. If they can't understand it, how can they reach me? I guess they can't, I guess they won't, I guess they front. That's why I know my life is out of luck, fool.
Spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most their lives living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most their lives living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most their lives living in a gangster's paradise. Why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? How are you doing, Jerome, by the way? I don't know if you answered. So blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me.
We can all agree that AI is taking over, but why not make it work for you? Just let me
Dun, 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 dun. Hold on, I'm almost done posting. Bum, 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 I'm tired of saying I'm sorry. I know I could always be better. I'm still a liar, and you're stoking the fire.
tired, but I'm so fucking tired. I'm so fucking tired.
Hello, what's up, Jawa Bra? I do, I'm posting on it right now, actually.
Follow the flow, the stream will just lead you. But you're not so nice, so they'll probably leave you.
Leave you. Talking so loud, but no one can hear you. Being drowned out by the victims and demons. Oh, these victims and demons. These victims and demons. And demons. Which one are you? My Instagram account is Cassie Catnip. That is it. Which one are you? And I'm so fucking tired. But I'm so fucking tired. Fucking tired. You'll send me a message, okay? If you want to, but I don't really, like, be in my Instagram DMs like that, you know? I mainly talk on stream, so if you want to, like, chat, like, stream is probably the place to do it. Take it all in. Too late to start, got your heart in a halo. I don't believe any of it. Too late to start, got your heart in a halo. Oh, you're better than this. Is it too late to start, got your heart in a halo. I don't believe any of it. Got your heart in a halo. You're better than this. Yo, what's up, lonely little booty? How you doing? First time chatter, where'd you find the stream? You're better than this. The normie spot. Facebook? Hell no? What's the normie spot? Ding? What? Wait, which was the ding? I sent, can you see? Jawa bra, like I said, I don't really be checking Instagram DMs like that. If you want to talk to me, the best place to do it is on stream. Especially the requests, like, I don't even see your message, dude, at all. So many things get marked as spam. I don't, like, get message requests really on Instagram. I think I see you. But yeah, Instagram's just a bad place to try and contact me. Yeah, like, I'm literally, like, in my requests, and it's all spam, bro. It's all spam on fucking Instagram. Yeah, okay. That's a headache to look at. Yeah, just talk to me here, dog. Just talk to me here. I don't want to be, like, on my phone DMing people while I'm on stream. It's not the move. It's not the move.
Before the floodgates open, can we just lie here till it's all over? I hear the violence calling, turn and run. Inside, you build your walls but can't forget the hate. You hide down to finally meet you in the
Where's the KFC? When's the last time I had KFC? Like, over a year ago, for sure. Can you reply to me on Instagram? Like I said, Jawa, you can talk to me here. I'm not gonna be on my phone DMing people on Instagram while I'm on stream. I'm actually here just for a quick get ready with me stream. I am 28 years old. How old are you, Delabra? I'm not afraid to die. Cool. Where are you from, Jella? Jordan. Cool. I'm from America. Not afraid to die. Yeah, born and raised in America. I've never left, but I'm excited to travel the world hopefully soon. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you. Not afraid to die.
Are you ready to have better sex? In this
The
class,
fucking
you'll learn how to build
advertisements, bro.
sex.
What's up, Super? How you doing? Yes, no. Do you can spend one night with me? Are you asking me to have intimate relations with you? I have a partner. Do you want me for one night? I am not for sale. I'm not doing overnight visits. I just told you I have a partner, Jawa. Maybe there's a language barrier. Thank you. I also have a wife. Weaver, thank you so much for the 83 months. What? Have you ever like just unsubbed or taken a break for a month? Like even a little bit? Like even a little bit. Like even a little bit. Just like a bit. Just like take a break. I don't know. 83 months? You're like obsessed, bro. You're obsessed with me. What the fuck? Are you stalking me? You're a stalker, aren't you? 83 months sub? Bye. Yo, what's up, front burner? How you doing? I'm just like 83 months subscription, bro? What the fuck, Weaver? You're psychotic, bro. 83 months? Wow, bro. Thank you. Truly, thank you. Just got out of a really bad argument with my friend. I am so sorry to hear that, front burner. That sounds really dysregulating. Do you want to share anything more about it, or you just want to chill? Whatever you want to do. Appreciate you being here, front burner. Hope everything's alright. Because I think your channel's older than I tried. I think you single-handedly have like the longest ongoing subscription to my channel, Weaver. I don't think anybody has you beat. I'll have to keep an eye out, but so far 83 months is the longest. I gotta fucking like give you a kidney or something when you hit 100. That's crazy. Pulled out a mat and told me to point to Hungary. Apparently Africa was the wrong answer, so you had an argument about it. There sounds like there was more context, but okay, like, interesting. I love you, Weaver. I love you guys. I'm plucking my unibrow. I haven't done that in over a month. It's only love. 寝ても覚めても少年漫画夢見てばっか自分が好きじゃないの何が欲しいかわからなくてただ欲しかってぬるい涙が伝う言いたいことなんかないただもう一度会いたい言いたいこと言えない根性なしかもしれないそれでいいけど僕の世界消えるまで会えるなら君のそばで眠らせて Yo, Bryce, what's up, love? Free organs for 100 months up? Oh, man. Yes, I mean, very fair question. Love you, buddy. Bryce, how are you doing today? I love you, female. You love me. I love you, Jawa. But I like, platonically. I love you. Sorry, that was a bit of a dark joke. Was that a dark joke? How's that a dark joke? I don't get it. And maybe I didn't get the joke. Oh, the red panda's so cute. I love that red panda. So guys, I might go mud wrestle. Might go mud wrestle soon. It might be on the agenda. I might lose. I might get my ass kicked, but it'll be fun. It will be fun. Female. My eyes, my heart, my soul, and my comfort. I think there is a language barrier happening right now. I'm trying to understand what you're trying to convey. He has a bunch of cute red pandas. Aw, I love them all. Someone gift me a sub to him so I can use them. Oh, you know what I want to listen to? I love you too, homie. Peace and love to you, my friend. Bro, I fell asleep on Discord last night. I like heard people in my ear, and they were like, no, Mary Magdalene, wake up! Because my name in that Discord is Mary Magdalene. I'm just like, ah, I'm napping here, bro. I'm napping here. I'm doing good, Jonas. How are you? Bye, Weaver. It was great to see you. Hold on. Give me one sec. Titty. Ayo, thank you for the follow, Jawa.
Huh? Where am I? How in the world did it come to this? Since I've been reincarnated as Grace, I must do what I can to act the part.
Yeah, it was the dub. It's your favorite movie? No way, Bryce. No fucking way, dog. I watched it in my Discord in like 2021. I really like it. I rewatched it in another Discord semi-recently. What time is it here? It is... It's a really good question. 6 p.m. Man, the only person who showed up to watch it with me when I watched it the first time was Shy. And we don't even talk anymore. Since the Sammy fallout, he hangs out with Sammy but not with me. Whatever, Shy, I thought we were cool. Thought we were cool, man. What time is it for you, Jernus? I forgot to follow your remains. Oh, you're too sweet. Mike's funny. You're funny, dog. You're funny. I think I'm gonna go get some herbage and resume my makeup. Might go live on TikTok too. Trying to get the streaming momentum back up. I took a pretty big break. I'm trying to figure out, I think I might be wearing a wig today. I'm like, should I brush my hair and like style it? But I think I'm gonna wear a wig. Maybe I might just keep this, my natural hair, and then put a wig on after. Bro, it's crazy, Bryce. You first followed me right when my fucking hair was like shaved. This is the longest it's ever fucking been. This is like nutso. 8:04 p.m. for you. Getting ready to sleep. Had a long day. Aw, well, I hope you get good sleeps tonight, my friend.
You try to hold back all the thoughts. Lend me your eyes. Let me see your face. Let me start to show you what I see. Bring me close. Let me come and sit by the fire. Just let me come close. Light glimmers in a flood.
I need to change that. Stream Elements is telling you to download that, but I'm not currently sponsored with that game. I need to fix it. The sponsorship ended.
Sky breathes life, love to everything.
Okay, I will be right back, guys.
Come back to me and stay by my side. I feel my heart shake. Come ease this ache. I'm standing over here, reaching for you, a million miles away. Come back and stay. Sing, let your heart soar. Sing forever. Sad and so happy. Feelings blow over. Now our world is full of all kinds of colors. Closing my eyes, I still can see the stars shine in the sky. Sing their harmony. Flowers, they're blooming. Oh, it's beautiful. Sing their song, I won't stop now. Sing it through, I love you. The voice carries
So, why use Grammarly over ChatGPT? Well, Grammarly offers expert writing suggestions versus something generic that everyone gets while you type in real time. No need to copy paste. You can use it across 100,000 apps and websites. It's not just a spelling or grammar checker. Grammarly is an AI writing tool that helps you in any situation.
Yo. What up, Blaze It 420 daddy? What does that symbol next to your name mean? Does that mean you've subbed before? Oh no, you got the founder badge, bro. Wow, I am the first. I'm not a pro. I am your lover. Wait, what? No, I said I love you platonically. Platonically. I'm friend zoning you. I'm viewer zoning you. I am not open to any romantic interactions at the moment. My dude, my dog. Okay, wait, I was muted. Okay, Jara, you need to chill. Chill the fuck out. Jesus Christ. Okay. So I'm getting a lot of like I'm hearing from a lot of people that RFK said some things on autism that people are really upset with. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna find it. All right. Yo, Jawa, chill. Chill.
Some of the key numbers from the ADDM report. Overall, the autism is increasing in prevalence at an alarming rate. The study tests 8-year-olds who were born in 2014. And by the way,
Jawa, I
these
literally
studies
already
are
did. Do you have
2
memory loss?
years later than they should be. And one of the things that we're going to do as we move this function to the Administration for a Healthy America, to the chronic disease division, the new chronic disease division, is we are going to have updated real-time data so that people can look at this, so Americans can understand what is happening with chronic disease in this country in real time, and not have to wait 2 years to react. We don't wait 2 years to react to a measles epidemic, and we should not, or any kind of infectious disease. We shouldn't have to do that for diabetes or autism.
Didn't Trump like get rid of the CDC though?
Prevalence rate in 8-year-olds
Or like
is
stop
now
cut funding
1
for it?
in 31. Shocking.
I said no, Jawa.
There's an extreme risk
No.
for boys.
No,
Overall,
no.
the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. And as high in California, which has the best data collection.
Especially if you're just gonna say like you want to kiss me and shit. I'm not responding to you.
12.5 boys. This is part of an unrelenting upward trend. The prevalence 2 years ago was 1 in 36. Since the first ADDM report in 1990, which was 1992 births, autism has increased by a factor of 4.8. That's 480%, I believe. The first ADDM survey was 22 years ago when prevalence was 1 in 150 children. In all the core states, the trend is consistently upward, and most cases now are severe. So about 25% of the kids who are diagnosed with autism are nonverbal, non-toilet trained, and have other stereotypical features, head banging, tactile and light sensitivities, stimming, toe walking, etc.
Does anyone know what he's saying that people are upset about? I'll probably watch some more videos after this to hear.
We need to move away from today. Is this ideology that the autism diagnosis, that the autism prevalence increases, the relentless increases, are simply artifacts of better diagnoses, better recognition, or changing diagnostic criteria. If you look at Table 3 of the ADDM report, it's clear that the rates are real, that they are increasing in the last 10 years, which is the beginning with the first one. Year by year, there is a steady, relentless increase. I want to, because this epidemic denial has become a feature in the mainstream media, and it's based on an industry canard. And obviously, there are people who don't want us to look at environmental exposures. And so I want to just read you some of the little excerpts from some of the older studies. The baseline for autism in this country was established with the largest epidemiological study in history, a study of all 900,000 children in the state of Wisconsin, children under the age of 12. They found 0.7 children had autism in every 10,000. That's less than 1 in 10,000. Today, we're at 1 in 31. That study also confirmed the 4-to-1 male-to-female ratio. There were at that time just over 60 children in Wisconsin with autism. And today it's around 20,000. In 1987,
Are we just detecting it better, though? That's my big question in this.
Study, a peer-reviewed study in North Dakota set out to count every child in the state with a pervasive developmental disorder.
Like, we used to, diagnose people as, retarded. We used to clinically diagnose people as, having mental retardation. And now it's we have autism spectrum, which we're, discovering more and more about. I don't know. That's...
autism.
At least the research I've seen.
Meticulously combed through every record, every diagnosis, and he even conducted in-person assessments of the entire population of 180,000 children under 18. The autism rate they found was 3.3 per 10,000. So that's in line with the 1 in 10,000 that was found in Wisconsin 17 years earlier. For context, today, the last number of 1 in 36 is 83 times higher. In 1987, out of every 1 million kids, 330 were diagnosed with autism. Today, there are 27,777 for every million. If you accept the epidemic denier's narrative, you have to believe that researchers in North Dakota missed 98.8% of the children with autism. that thousands of profoundly disabled children were somehow invisible to doctors, teachers, parents, and even their own study. The same researchers who followed the original cohort for 12 years to double-check their number, they went back in 2000 and found that they had missed exactly one child. So doctors and therapists in the past were not stupid. They weren't missing all these cases. The epidemic is real.
I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying certain research was very much skewed. We used to fucking have like people diagnosed as like having mental retardation. We used to take women who were diagnosed with hysteria, which was what it was before it was BPD, and they would actually give them forced orgasms in the insane asylum. So I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying maybe they're malicious. Like maybe there's some shit in the past that we could have done like a little bit better, and maybe we're finally figuring out how to do it better. Um I I don't know. I'd have to go over a timeline of our mental health system, but like it doesn't have a good track record. We were doing a lot of fucking such shit during the World War II era. Like it's and before that as well. I don't know, man.
In 1965, researchers from 14 hospitals associated with major universities undertook the National Collaborative Perinatal Project, tracking 30,000 children from birth to age 8. This was no half-baked survey-based analysis. The study conducted 9 separate screenings covering neurology, psychology, speech, language, hearing, and visual function. Every developmental quirk, anomaly, and disorder was logged with painstaking detail. Autism, a condition characterized by profound impairments in social communication and behavior, would have stood out like a neon sign. There were 14 cases. That's 4.7 per 10,000. So we know what the historic numbers are, and we know what the numbers are today. And it's time for everybody to stop attributing this to this ideology of epidemic denial.
I'm not even denying an epidemic. I'm questioning if the appearance of an epidemic comes from the lack of information we've had on this particular condition, given the circumstances that, like, I don't know, say like I'm thinking my brother. He was, I believe, misdiagnosed or not diagnosed properly for having ADHD, and I believe he was given Ritalin prescription at the age of 4. And then they later realized, oh, like he probably has autism. I'm pretty sure they took him off the Ritalin. And I'm pretty sure at that point in the late 90s, early 2000s, you could not medically diagnose somebody as having both ADHD and autism, but now we can do so. So with that detail, and also with the detail of, like, I don't know, things like PTSD or BPD now being seen as autistic characteristics, the uptick in diagnosis of people with autism does make sense, as well as like during the pandemic, most autism testing was like pushed back or on pause. I know for my situation, my son took a solid 2 years on a waiting list until he was able to get diagnosed with autism. So there's just so many factors here. It's not even denying anything really, but looking at the other factors that could increase in the numbers of people being diagnosed with autism.
The California State Legislature charged the Mind Institute at UC Davis with because this myth was already becoming pervasive, the myth of epidemic denial was already becoming pervasive in the mainstream media. The California legislature directed the Mind Institute at UC Davis to answer the question. And Irva Hertz-Pichotto is highly esteemed, revered scientist, neurology, and epidemiologist, came back with a definitive answer. The epidemic is real. Only a very, very small portion of it can be changed to can be charged to better recognition or better diagnostic criteria. I want to say a couple of other things.
I wonder if trauma would impact it, especially like the being stunted in things like potty training or like nonverbalness. I wonder if trauma would impact that. Because I have a theory that it would. And we do live in like a very highly traumatizing society, or trauma to like a mother when the kid's in the womb, things like that too. I wonder. I wonder.
There are many, many other studies that affirm this. And
Blah, blah, blah. I
instead
set
of
a boundary with
listening
you that I wasn't going to be
to
DMing you on Instagram,
to
especially while I'm live,
this
especially if you just want to
canard
engage
of
romantically. If you
epidemic
don't respect that
denial,
boundary,
all you
I'll
have
just
to do
ban
is
you.
start reading a little science, because the answer is very clear. And this is catastrophic for our country.
Hi,
There's
Michael.
a
How are you
recent
doing,
study
love?
by Blaxel et al. And a team of other researchers said that the cost of treating autism in this country by 2035, so within 10 years, will be $1 trillion a year. This is added to already astronomical healthcare costs. And then there's an individual injury. These are kids this is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure.
Oh, cool, Michael.
Genes do not cause
I think you've
epidemics. They can
been in
provide
my chat before,
vulnerability,
though.
a
I have
unique environmental toxin.
31 messages
And
from you in my chat history.
Irva Hertz-Pachoda pointed out that
What part of Canada are you in?
because of this mythology,
Yeah, I'm scrolling up. It looks like you've been in my chat for like raids and such maybe since 2022.
Has been historically 10 to 20 times the amount spent by NIH and other agencies to study environmental factors.
Oh, did you like move or something? Is that what you're saying? Oh, you moved to Canada and this is your first time watching my stream from Canada.
Autism.
I see. That makes more sense. Okay.
More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who many of them were fully
very cool.
functional. And
I hope you like it.
Because of some environmental exposure.
It's all good, Jawa.
And they're 2 years old.
Respect my boundaries and we won't have any issues.
Never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball.
Why is the first thing he said they'll never pay taxes? Why is that the first thing he said?
Into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted.
Whoa! Has he ever seen Love on the Spectrum? Also, like, so I grew up in a home where my parents did adult foster care. And so, one of the people in the home was elderly. And I believe back in the day when they were a child, they were diagnosed with mental retardation. Unfortunately, that's what it was called. And they, also with like being that, they had like a fused spine. So they couldn't like turn their neck individually. They'd have to turn their whole body. So they had mental and physical disabilities and they required assistance going to the bathroom. But that's not like a new thing. And I would say most people who are on the autism spectrum, it's a spectrum for a reason. They are like the people you see on like Love on the Spectrum, where it's like kind of awkward, kind of different the way they interact, but when you find someone where it works for them, it's not, they seem to be able to engage romantically with other people just fine when they meet somebody that they can like relate with. as well as yeah, yeah, I feel like the way we treat it has a lot of room to grow as well. Um, it's interesting. I'm on the spectrum. I have Asperger's. Yeah, I'm on the spectrum too. My son was diagnosed with autism as well. I'm so sorry about that, Java Bra. I have seen videos of that happening. I'm so sorry that's happening. I've tried to be outspoken about not wanting to partake and contribute to that, and it's very volatile because some people are like indoctrinated into a cult justifying horrible things that have been happening out there. I'm so sorry to hear that, Java Bra. If anyone has been affected by that. Um yeah. It's fucking hard. It's hard because I've lived in America my whole life and I have been learning about what's happening over there. I have a Palestinian friend who's very dear to me, and yeah, I just sometimes I'm at a loss for what more to do. Um I try and spread awareness, but like right now I'm in a situation in life where I'm kind of struggling with my mental health and my finances and certain family things. So I have to be careful because if I do certain things to take direct action, I'm risking a lot. Um, so I try and use my freedom of speech to spread awareness. But it's hard. It's really hard because I feel like very powerless a lot of the time.
And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children, and we need to put an end to it. And I think I'm going to have Walter
What is his suggestion?
Zaharodny, who is the most senior researcher for this project for ADDM and has been doing this for many years, to come up and say a little.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm here as a long-term autism researcher and a clinical psychologist. I get to wear two
Meditation labor,
hats,
isn't
one
it? Hi,
with
BB. Good to
patients and
see you, love.
families, trying to help
Yeah,
them
like what's
get
the
to a
okay, we've
diagnosis and
identified the
to
problem, kind of.
interventions and treatments.
We don't know where it
But
comes
also for the
from.
last
It's just kind of
20
ambiguous,
plus
but we're
years as
acknowledging
the
that it's an
director of the New
epidemic.
Jersey Autism
Okay,
Study,
RFK.
which
So
is
what is to be done about it? They
a
can't pay taxes. That seems like it's an
CDC-sponsored
issue for you.
autism surveillance system. We've monitored autism in New Jersey in concert with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention since 2000. When we began our endeavor with CDC, we expected to do maybe 2 or 3 baseline studies to
A
establish
lot
how
of
many
people
children
I've
have
heard to say
autism,
that it has a lot
because
to
it
do
was
with your
not
gut health
expected that
too.
autism prevalence would
I don't know.
increase. Other childhood disabilities, neurologic disorders do not increase or change over time. But somehow, for some reason, with autism, everything was different.
God forbid they can't pay taxes.
Autism went from being a very unusual, rare disability, which affected, as the secretary said, one child in maybe 10,000, to being known in every community, every school district.
Cool. I'm praying for you, Java.
Every center that cares
I'm praying
for
for them
children
out
with
there. I wish there was more I
disabilities.
could do.
Autism is real. It's a true disability. It's not a personality quirky issue. Everything has changed for the individual with autism, and while there's a wide range of expression,
I do love Palestine. I love Palestine. I love the people in Palestine. I pray for peace in Palestine. I don't think what's happening to the people in Palestine is at all justifiable. I think any act of like terror or harming civilians and harming people to prove a point or to claim territory is horrific and unconscionable and unjustifiable. I know there's a lot of people and I there's this whole thing going on with like H3 and Hassan Piker, iDubbbz, whatever the fuck. There's this whole debacle about whether or not most Jews are Zionists. And I have met and heard from several Jews that are anti-Zionist, that do not support what's going on, have spoken against it. One of those key people being a notable person who has actually written books on trauma and what is happening in our brains, which honestly, Gabor Mate should be the one up here, not this guy. I trust Gabor Mate more than RFK on this topic, or whoever this is. I haven't heard of this person. I've done a lot of research into autism and ADHD. But Gabor Mate is a doctor, researcher. He's a former Zionist. He was a baby in the Holocaust, and he was very outspoken about how trauma impacts us all. And essentially, Zionism is like kind of a trauma-based movement for fear that you're going to be eradicated, so you have to kind of be supremacist towards yourself and your group. And Gabor Mate was very outspoken about how the things that were happening within Zionism and within Israel, he could not condone. He's been speaking about it for years. And a lot of people discount it, but it's just so important to acknowledge that there's not just like individual good or bad people. And that's really what I see happening so much, is this like tug of war between like, this group is the worst one, we have to eliminate them. And it's just so horrific to see what that trauma response can do when it's people who are in control of, you know, weapons that can do mass destruction. It's, yeah, and like I think of a little bit of like Netanyahu's backstory. Like, allegedly his brother was killed in a terrorist attack. It seems like he never reconciled with that, and he held this animosity, and the back and forth of hatred on both sides just created this pressure cooker of animosity and oppression, and it just is not in a good state. And I just pray for people to come conscious to the fact that we are all connected, we are all each other's brothers and sisters, and that destroying any group of people is never going to lead to anything peaceful. Yeah. And Syria, it was destroyed because of Trump, because he supported the criminal former president, the son of a bitch. Yeah. That's hard. I'm so sorry. And I've seen my country, like the veterans of my country that served in the military have been extremely outspoken about like the mistakes we've made and are currently making. And it's so devastating to hear people not listen to them and justify like furthering more trauma that we need to heal. Dude, I saw the prison in Syria where they tortured people. Damn, dude. I can imagine. Oh, 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 bruh. People can do some awful shit. Oh yeah, how do we get the tax exemption for autism? Right, bro. That's the thing I was saying. He's like saying some of them will never pay tax, some of them will never have a date, some of them will never use the toilet. Like, I have paid tax, had dates, and used the toilet, RFK. Okay? And I would say most people with autism have. Like, that's why it's like a spectrum, because it's like not everybody with autism is like a vegetable, right? And even those that are like more disabled, like I just have such a background with people who are disabled and have autism my entire life, okay? That's literally what I was raised around. I was in an adult foster care home with people, yeah, who a lot of the time had autism or some kind of disability, like just constantly. And just seeing like the adults that, even though they had that, they still paid tax. Like, there was like one person in the home who needed assistance going to the bathroom, but everybody else could go to the bathroom. Everybody else, like, did their thing. Most of them had jobs or were in, you know, like the adult foster care home to get a job, which, like, I've had my criticisms of the foster care system, so that is still valid, but it's just, he's like saying it like every autistic person can't take a shit by themselves, bro. Oh man, I got gut issues, but like I don't need like assistance from like another person. Like maybe like some more like fiber in my diet, I guess. I disagree that Zionism is a trauma-based thing. I think it takes advantage of those who are susceptible to suggestions because of trauma. So, my Palestinian friend gave us a presentation on the founding of Zionism. I took some notes. They're right here. Coincidentally enough. Um, beautiful. Beautiful. Here they are. Here they are. Here's my notes. Okay. So, let's see. How do we get here? There was like a lot of like European nationalism and anti-Semitism. I'm gonna push back a little bit against what you're saying, BB, because I do think it was to an extent. So while I agree that it takes advantage of people who have trauma and gets them into it. Because I would say, based off of Gabor Mate's description, that sounds like how he got into it. He was kind of born into it. It's like we went through this like horrific, fucked up thing, and now we're going to like, you know, like join this group of people like us to like protect ourselves. So I think this can go in line with most supremacist ideologies, um like Christian nationalism, white supremacy, um like it's saying here, European nationalism, anti-Semitism, like stuff like that, where they're like, we're the in group, you're the out group. I think a lot of the time, maybe not all of the time, but it comes from a place of fear. Like we have to protect ourselves and build ourselves up because they're gonna kill us. They're gonna fuck us up. They're gonna suppress us. We have to be the ones to like puff up and be the fucking top dog because no one's ever gonna fuck with us. Okay? So I think that is the majority of where it comes from. I think some people are psychopathic. I think some people just are fucked up, okay? Um, but what I am saying with this is that it's like, yeah, like after the Holocaust happened, from this presentation that my Palestinian friend put on, it does seem like what I gathered from it is that they are like building themselves up to never get fucked with again. And to the extreme of the Holocaust, in which that was a horrible, horrific, very fucked up thing that happened, as above, so below, I feel like there is that like trauma response where they're like, okay, yeah, well, this fucked up shit happened to us, and then we're gonna do it. And while this doesn't justify anything, and the same goes with, say, like dynamics, you were abused as a child, you grow up to become an abusive person. That does not justify it or make it okay, but it to acknowledge how that kind of cycle continues, I think is really important. But that being said, people get greedy, they get evil, fucked up in those dynamics where they are just being manipulated and diluted and distorted with the idea that this group of people like them is the best and like they can do no wrong. The evil is completely outside of them. They're not capable of evil. Type shit. Sorry. I smoked a little weed, so I'm on that type shit. But yeah. Oh, I could see that view. That's a part of why there was so much resistance to freeing slaves in the US. Yeah. Right, because it's like, and I think that's why, it makes me feel nauseous, like kind of talking about this and thinking about this. Honestly, I'm gonna acknowledge that feeling. But I think that is why they go that Hitler or Netanyahu or whoever will go as far as they go to try and destroy and completely remove or whatever this entire group, because of that fear that they're gonna uprise and come back and fuck you up again. So there is this like disgusting, it feels like, urge from people in that position to finish the job, which is exactly what our current president said. And so that is just, for one, never gonna happen. For two, exactly how terrorist groups are made. Fuck. Do you learn about Islam? I have been learning more about Islam, Jalabra. It was very heavily demonized in the Western culture that I grew up in for a very long time. Still is by a lot of people. But as I've gotten older, I'm very open-minded to all forms of philosophy. I'm actually, what I'm most interested in, and I have another friend of mine who's very interested in this as well. I haven't seen her in years, but I'm so excited to connect with her again. But it's the conflict resolution when we have these differing philosophies and ideologies. Like, so these are like fighting each other. How do we go from here? Like, if one person has the belief that their ideology and the person that they are directly threatens my existence, and then it creates this radicalism, like, how do we calm that down, and how do we, yeah, like, build bridges and integrate these philosophies into each other with like reverence and respect for each other? Free Palestine, free Syria, free Congo, free everywhere around the world where any human being has been treated like a second-class citizen or been oppressed. You must become a Muslim who believes in God. So that's where I'm going to disagree with you. I don't believe anybody should push their religion onto people. I don't believe anybody should force anybody to convert to anything or be this, that, or the other. People should be free to be themselves so long as they're not harming anybody, so long as they are not, doing fucked up shit. They should be able to believe in what they want to believe in. And I think that the West has a lot they've done wrong, and Israel has a lot they've done wrong. But I met a friend recently, and they were telling me about their life story, and they had to leave a country because ISIS was going around murdering people and kidnapping their kids. And just shit like that. It's just fucked. And I know that there's been so much that's like played its role and created a butterfly effect to lead us to where we're at right now, like little things from all sides. But it's like, I feel like a lot of people are doomer, like this is gonna repeat itself for the rest of time. But it's like, no, I think we're really evolved and really advanced, and we have so much technology that we could make all these weapons, right? So we can explore better ways of conflict resolution and actually living in peace. And maybe even like, I don't know, space exploration. Like, oh, okay, there's not enough room. You want a place of your own? I don't know, go fucking build a Death Star. Not actually, but like, I don't want Israel to have a Death Star. Fuck that. I just think I think there really is a better way, and I've interacted and met some really incredible, inspiring people that I think are leading the way in creating those better ways. And maybe I'm one of them. I feel like such a small like drop in the bucket, you know what I mean? But I do feel like even me talking about this now rather than just only doing my makeup does play a role in yeah, just sparking more ideas of like how we can do this. I see believe whatever you want to believe as long as you're not harming. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What's up, Trawa? I personally think it starts with respecting ceasefires, though, which that's like pretty important, man. Like that's like the point of it, right? Oh man, it's rough. Anyways, we're gonna continue this video.
And it does
Oh, I gotta
inevitably
turn my headset back on.
change the community and the society in which we find it. Autism prevalence has increased very dramatically. It's increased in New Jersey where
Okay,
we have
okay, wait. I wanted to go back to this for a second. Palestine under Ottoman rule. I didn't take notes very good. I want to ask him for the original PowerPoint, actually. Ottoman Empire was Turks, no national boundaries, just cultural, European nationalism and anti-Semitism, fermented, fomented the Zionist movement. So yeah, it was like it seems like a trauma response because like okay, these people are going to be nationalistic, they're going to be anti-Semitic, they hate us. So we have to stick together. Um and then we have the founder was Theodor Herzl. Um something about Der Judenstaat, 1896, the Dreyfus Affair, Jewish soldier in the French army, 1897 was the first Zionist Congress, set formal intentions for a Jewish state. The Sykes-Picot Agreement and British Mandate after collapse of the Ottoman Empire. The French and British carved up the Middle East and staked their claims. The French claimed Syria and Lebanon. Chaim Weizmann and the Balfour Declaration, chemists who developed a way to synthesize acetone to help manufacture ammunitions. Jewish land purchases in Palestine. Jewish National Fund, 1901. Palestine Jewish Colonization Association in 1924. Deeds possessed by absentee landowners inherited from the Ottoman feudal system. Zionists would buy deeds from absentee owners and evict long-standing tenants or residents. So, okay, so yeah, there is like a lot of history prior to the Holocaust. So prior to the Holocaust, there was like a lot of shit that happened, but it was still in a response to like the European nationalism and anti-Semitism. But it seems like they began to kind of just like, okay, well, we gotta find some place. We gotta find somewhere. That's like our own Jewish state, which is like not a great idea. I don't know. I personally don't vibe with the sentiment of like ethno states. I don't. I don't. I don't want to live there. I want to live somewhere where I can have like very very much diversity. I want to be surrounded by like Hindus, Arabs, Jews, Christians, agnostics, atheists. I don't I like the diversity. I like the open dialogue about like existence. Um that's my thing. Good night, Jerome. Thanks for being here. Take care. Love you too, buddy. Tensions rise, violence breaks out. The Nabi Musa riots were in 1920, led to formation of Haganah, main Zionist militia to defend. 1936 to 1939, there was an Arab revolt. Started as a strike, turned into a violent revolt. British sent in army masters of colonization. 1/10 of Palestinian men were killed or imprisoned during this. Oh my god, bro. That's crazy. Um, White Paper halted Jewish migration in 1939. Colonization was fomented by Zionists and facilitated by the British. Both contributed. The rise of the Nazis in World War II. British halted Jewish immigration to Palestine just as the Nazis were stirring up Europe. Jewish refugees were trying to escape Europe and were denied. Refugees in many places, including the US. Jewish refugees were trying to escape Europe and were denied refuge in many places, including the US. Jewish terrorism mounts. British headquarters in King David Hotel bombed. April 1946. 91 British officials killed, demoralized the British. The UN partition plan. British decided to pull out and pass issue to UN, voted to partition Palestine into Jewish state and Arab state with Jerusalem as international zone, gave Jewish state 55% of land, despite compromising 33% of the population and only owning 6% of the land. Was not voted in favor for by any country within 1,000 miles of Palestine, was rejected by the Palestinians. In 1947, there was a civil war in Palestine, the Nakba, expulsion and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Plan Dalet laid out Zionist plans to expel Palestinians from the land to ensure a Jewish majority. 1948, April 9th, the Dur Qasim massacre. Zionist forces including the Ergen and Lehi entered Deir Lassin village with the non-aggression pact and committed massacre. At least 140 Palestinians, including women, children, and elderly, killed in cold blood. Lydia and Ramal death marches. About 70,000 Palestinians expelled from Lydia and Ramal. Ramle? I might be saying this wrong. My handwriting's kind of messy. I was trying to write fast. It was going too fast. He talked to me about maybe doing a Twitch stream. I want to follow back up with him and ask him if he's still considering that, because I would love to see him here on Twitch. Or YouTube. Biggest expulsion of the war commanded by Yitzhak Rabin. He did a few other sessions, I believe, sharing information about the history. I'm gonna ask him for those PowerPoints, I think. What's up, Niz? How you doing? All right, now back to this. I just wanted to, because it was on my mind and it was out, kind of share the notes I took on some of the history. Yeah.
Excellent resources and access to services, and it's increased in all the states in the network. It's increased not only by the CDC ATOM network active surveillance activities, but it's increased according to federal IDEA statistics and information from a multitude of surveys. It is a true increase. There is better awareness of autism, but better awareness of autism cannot be driving disability like autism to increase by 300% in 20 years. That's what we saw in New Jersey. That's what the CDC report of yesterday indicates.
I mean, if you prevent people from diagnosing someone with both ADHD and autism, I think that is a large number of people who actually might have both, or we're misunderstanding it. I don't know.
And that's what, in my opinion, future reports from epidemiologists will show.
But Gabor-Mate has this book called Scattered Mind, and in that book, he highlights the impact of things like trauma on ADHD. So it's like, maybe, I don't know. Like, the pandemic was really hard on people. I would say the pandemic and like I don't want to like overshare too much about stuff because it's still, I'm dealing with some stuff off stream, but varying factors absolutely contributed to my son's diagnosis. There's, yeah, for me, I would accredit that too, like especially because we see the overlap with like kids with autism and them having also CPTSD now. It's yeah, it would make sense in my opinion, because like you could take an autistic kid who maybe has like a better family, whatever, and they become somebody who's like wildly successful, and you don't even really like think that often that they have autism because they had the proper support systems. But it's, yeah, you can also correlate it maybe with the rising cost of living and other factors. I don't know. Thank you, Rod. I hope you have a great night too. I hope you're doing great.
Have provided in yesterday's report strongly suggests that not only is this a high point of autism prevalence, but in the future, rates can only be higher. Autism deserves to be treated as a real public health phenomenon, and I would say is an urgent public health crisis. It's not just that we're more astute or perceptive. It's not like 2 or 3 children out of for every one with autism has remained invisible. Autism is striking, and the consequences are lifelong. So I would urge everyone to consider the likelihood that autism, whether you call it an epidemic, a tsunami, or a surge of autism, is a real thing that we don't understand. And it must be triggered or caused by environmental or risk factors. We need to address this question seriously because, in my opinion, for the last 20 years, we've collected data but not made real progress in understanding what causes autism or how to effectively prevent it or treat it.
It's going to be my special move, guys. Autism tsunami.
I urge you to read the report very carefully.
Tsunami!
I urge you to do something that nobody does and go into the many supplemental tables and see that autism is a true phenomenon and that we need a correct perception, not a perception that allows us to just provide services without understanding the root causes or the true factors at play.
Up, Vicky?
So thank you for your attention. I wish we could answer questions.
I think we can. Let me just say one other thing.
You wish we could answer the question. I have a lot.
Number of studies. There are many, many, many others in the scientific
No, you heard him correct.
Absolutely.
He said autism tsunami.
This mythology that this is, that the autism epidemic is not real.
I gotta do yoga. It helps me with my tism, especially when people say stupid things.
It is absolutely indefensible.
You guys know they didn't let me do yoga in jail. I asked them if I could do yoga in jail, and they said no.
It doesn't take you to read the literature.
Yoga helps with my autism. Maybe the autism is increasing because we don't let people do yoga in jail. You know what's also increasing? Our prison population rate. That's crazy. You know what's also increasing? Well, the cost of my health care. You know? Fuck. We're on track to spend trillions of dollars on autism. Oh, that's probably because my son's appointments for his autism are literally $200 for each appointment that he needs twice a week. Oh, okay. Phenomena. Okay.
Autism, if the epidemic is an artifact, a better diagnostic criteria or better.
I can't even afford to get diagnosed, bro.
Why are we not?
I know I am though.
In older people, why is this only happening in young people?
I also had a former friend of mine who said that they thought they might be autistic, but they don't want to go get diagnosed because they don't want to be put on a list and have their rights taken away. You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Before we came out here, I said, have you ever seen anybody our age? I'm 71 years old with full-blown autism.
That's because you... Bro, yeah, what I literally just described earlier. Somebody his age who had it, but they were diagnosed as being mentally retarded. Because that's what they would call it back then. Just like BPD used to be female hysteria, and they used to give forced orgasms to fucking women that were hysterical. Okay? We've come a long way. We've come a long way since your generation, my guy. Anyways.
Nonverbal, non-toilet trained, stimming, toe walking.
I know tons of men your age that are nonverbal and shit their pants. Tons of them, bro. Most of them are like pro Donald Trump. Most of them are on Facebook talking about how much they love Donald Trump. They're shitting their pants and then they like go nonverbal or they just regurgitate propaganda or they just call you a whore. You know, like I know tons of autistic grown-ass men, grown-ass adults. Like, okay, buddy. What's up, Kellogg? How you doing, love? This is silly. Anyways.
Stereotypical features. Where are these people walking around the mall? You can't find them. They're not in homes. There are no homes for them.
What? Screams in life experience. I am baffled. Like, everything he's saying contradicts my life experience. That is completely valid. That a lot of people also have. They're not going to the mall. Maybe because they don't have money. What do you mean they're not going to the mall? What do you mean? The malls are overstimulating. I don't have money to spend. What are you talking about? I literally can only sustain myself and I'm not homeless because I do cam work, bro. Because I'm a streamer. I'm sorry. I can't keep a fucking job, bro. I've had many and I hit burnout. I hit burnout because I can't keep doing the customer service every day. 5 days a week. 7 days a week. Because I was doing 7 days a week. Bro! Ah! What the fuck? I'm seething. The day of civil disobedience is coming up. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna be an autistic in a mall and I'm gonna spend no money. I'm gonna prove RFK wrong, okay? What the fuck? Luckily, they're cutting funding for the Department of Health to help reduce the number of autism diagnoses. Sorry. What did I miss? Welcome back, Nez. More people need to understand some of us aren't cut out for a 9-to-5 job. Exactly. And like one of the fucking messed up things that I experienced when growing up in an adult foster care home was that a lot of the clients who had autism or some kind of disability, they would go to this place that was like it was like a fucking working place, right? But they would get paid $2 an hour to do like factory work because they were disabled. So they would only get paid $2 an hour because it was like easier work, but not really, not actually. And they would get to socialize, whatever. It was a scam. It's a scam. Looking back, it's a fucking scam, bro. Like, but they would have like people help them work, so whatever. But like, $2 an hour type shit, like, are you talking about him? Goodwill takes advantage of that too. Damn, unfortunate.
There are no institutions.
Okay. What else has he got to say?
Why are we seeing them on the street? Anybody can look around.
I gotta go back. I gotta go back because I just got flabbergasted.
In older people. Why is this only happening in young people? You know, I asked Walter before we came out here, I said, have you ever seen anybody our age? I'm 71 years old.
You work in politics. How many autistic fucking people that are disabled do you think are making it to politics, bro?
Non-toilet trained, stimming.
Have you ever been to a retirement home?
These other stereotypical features. Where are these people walking
Maybe you should go.
You can't find them. They're not in homes.
They're not in the mall. They don't pay taxes.
There are no institutions.
That's the worst thing that could happen.
Why are we seeing them on the street? These other stereotypical features. Where are these people walking around the mall? You can't find them. They're not in homes. There are no homes for them.
It's called an
There are
adult
no
foster care home.
institutions for them.
My parents
Why
did that for a living. My grandmother did that for a living my entire life. It's called an adult foster care home. Yes. A lot of them don't go to the mall because they have very limited income because they live in an adult foster care home or a group home or like some kind of like state regulated place. Or they're playing video games. I'm sorry. They don't pay taxes. That's the most important. They don't pay taxes.
we see them on the street. Anybody can look around and see that this is a canard. And then you have to ask yourself, why is it so pervasive? Why has it been thrown up against us for so many years? And clearly there are industries.
Or they're
This is
programming
coming
it.
from an environmental toxin. And somebody made a profit by putting that environmental toxin into our air, our water, our medicines, our food. And it's to their benefit to say, oh, to normalize it. To say, oh, this is all normal. It's always been here.
It's not. Okay, yeah, you were literally fucking like tying children to radiators and like I said about the fucking female hysteria and that type of shit. Like, bro, it's been here for a minute though, and if it's getting worse, sure. But like the people who are like normalizing it, learning to live with it, and like not making fun of other people who have it, and like creating things to make more sense, right? Like, or like sensory rooms in airports. That degree of normalization isn't like, it's not like, hey guys, let's like inject each other all with the autism gene and make each other more autistic. It's like, no, you are this way. We're accepting you as you are, and we're not going to discriminate against you because you are who you are. Like, the way he's saying it is like normalizing it or making life more friendly for people with autism is like Satan. Oh my god.
But that's not good for our country. And it's not good for the press to not be more inquisitive, to not be more skeptical. And within 3 weeks, and probably we're hoping in 2 weeks, we're going to announce a series of new studies to identify precisely what the environmental toxins are that are causing it. This has not been done before. And we're going to do it in a thorough and comprehensive way, and we're going to get back to with an answer to the American people very, very quickly.
Secretary Kennedy.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Secretary Kennedy, I was not diagnosed with autism in 1994 when I initially did it. It took me 5 years to get diagnosed later. You also talked about the fact that the numbers increased with Black and Latino people, but even the own studies.
The healthcare system has been broken. So many people haven't been afford to get a diagnosis. So now that autism is becoming more talked about and people are actually going out of their way to get a diagnosis, like that is the factor. He's saying that there's no way that could lead to a 300% up increase, but it's like the factors that I just named, like I would love to look at the statistics and actually like break that down because I think that absolutely could. Because like what?
Your own study says these findings may indicate that improvements in ASD awareness, identification, and access to services and communities among Black and Latino, Hispanic, and API children have improved. Do you think that? Are you denying that in the past Black, Latino, and AAPI people had not been diagnosed? They've been diagnosed with behavioral disorders. They've been disciplined. They've been incarcerated, and now they're finally getting the services that they need.
Oh yeah, and there are small slivers of the autism epidemic, maybe 10% to 25% according to the studies. The highest studies are around 25%. That can be attributed to better recognition and better diagnosis. That means 85% are still, or 75% to 80% are still are part of an epidemic, and that's too many. And that is what we need to redress.
Walter, do you have something you'd like to add?
There's better recognition
We
of
get
autism
someone
and better awareness
like
because there are more children
not even
with
our age, right? Like, because I'm assuming me and most of my homies in here were like 25 to 30 range. Okay. Can we get someone our age or maybe just like a decade older? Like, do we keep having to have fossils represent our healthcare? Like, because I'm not trying to like discriminate against age, but just like my issue is that things have changed so much since they went to college. Like, so much. We know so much more than we did back then. Pesticides, yeah, that would be great. Chemical spills from trains, polluted water supplies. Right. That would be great. That would be great.
autism, and the professionals have greater reason to learn from what their experience and to diagnose. I wish the contrary
That would be
was
too
true,
woke,
but,
though. More on
it's not
wokeness,
like
guys.
better awareness pushes something that's not there. Rather, something that's there is being recognized.
Can you please say your
Bunch
first
of
and
boomers.
last name and outlet before asking a
Okay,
question?
boomer. Whatever you
Thank you.
say, boomer.
Secretary Kennedy, Amanda Seitz with the Associated Press. Some of the CDC's own research has concluded that there's a genetic link at play with autism. Are you saying today that you don't trust that research or that it was wrong? Could you expand a little bit more on that?
No, there is, we have really good genetic markers now, and they provide a vulnerability. But those genetic markers alone are not going to dictate your destiny. You need an environmental toxin. I mean, there are many genetic markers that dictate the methylation capacity of the human body. Those contribute to, those dictate, listen, with many people smoke cigarettes, and only 1 in 5 died from lung cancer.
Only.
There were 4 of them that didn't.
What did you just say? Many
And
people
those-
smoke cigarettes, and only 1 in 5 people who smoke cigarettes died from lung cancer. Only.
Those were the ones that had some circumstances, probably genetic, that made them more susceptible to it. And the same is true. We know that that glutathione
By the way, my
production
uncle has lung
and
cancer, and he'd smoke over a pack a day, and that's really sad.
Is an enzyme that helps the human body excrete metals and toxins. People with low glutathione production are more vulnerable. People with the MTHFR gene, which dictates methylation, are more vulnerable.
Smoking cigarettes is bad.
People with high testosterone
Smoking
are more
in general
vulnerable.
is bad.
So there are
I
lot
am
of
a hypocrite.
genetic vulnerabilities.
I should have more edibles. I should have more edibles. I know.
Alex at Fox. Alex.
Hi, Alex Hoff, Fox News. In seeking out an environmental toxin, do you feel that if one or several are detected or put on your radar, do you think it would be the same one causing issues at both ends of the spectrum? Children who struggle with, let's say, sensory issues, all the way to those who are fully care dependent, unable to speak. Would it be the same catalyst in all of those varying conditions, you think?
Well, those are the kind of studies we're going to do. And you're right, there's a spectrum of injuries, and we don't know. There are studies that look at maternal activation, so that something happens in the womb.
That's what I'm saying.
There are studies that look at other genetic cause. The issue that we know is genes don't cause epidemics. You need an environmental toxin. And we're going to look at all the potential culprits.
Cost of living has also risen with that correlation, he said. The last 20 years, the cost of living has what, tripled, guys?
Water and medicines. So, we're going to look at ultrasound, because there's a timeline that, something happened. In fact, Congress said to EPA, ordered EPA to tell us what year the autism epidemic began.
They're going to say it's the
EPA
internet.
Scientists came back and said it happened in 1989. Oh, you have to find a toxin that became ubiquitous around that time period. And that affected every demographic from Cubans in Key Biscayne to Inuit in Alaska. And that affects boys at a 4-to-1 ratio as girls. There's a limited universe of those, but actually it's quite large. And,
I wonder how the native peoples would have treated somebody if they were autistic.
One of the things
My bet is that they would have just like
I don't think that
took care of them like they were their family.
It's one of the exposures that became ubiquitous during that period, and we're going to look at all of them agnostically. We're going to find the potential exposures that increased during that time period, and we're going to
just take care of them.
If there is a link to this.
Not complain that they don't pay tax.
Thank you, Nathan.
Or go to
at
the
Epic
mall.
Times.
I'm sorry, can I please go? I've been
No,
waiting.
Nathan.
Right, like I think the
yes,
autistic
Nathan
people,
Wolford,
like
Epic
the
Times.
savants, were like the mystics, right? Like they were like the musicians, the storytellers. They weren't expected to like work a 9 to 5. They were allowed to just be themselves. What a crazy concept. What a crazy concept. I'm gonna cry actually, bro. Oh my god. Okay. The world we live in. They don't pay tax. They don't go to the mall. I need a second. Wolf, hello. Can I come in and not make you cry? Wolf, it's just the irony. I'm crying because, like, the fucking 10 levels of irony that is our world that we live in. What the fuck? Oh, man. Man, last time I went to the mall though with my autistic brother and son was before the pandemic, and that was actually really fun. It was amazing. I want to do it again. We just don't go to the mall like every day because we ain't got it like that. But like, what the fuck is he talking about? Oh man. Oh man. Yeah. So many of the malls are dying. It's not the autistic people's fault. It's the economy. I shared this video on X and Blue Sky, I believe. If you guys scroll back a bit, it's probably there. You can probably search it up on YouTube. It's semi-recent, but it's like it's something about fascism and normalcy. It's like to make anything that isn't your definition of normal like weird and evil, it like empowers things like fascism. Oh man. Okay.
Same time period of increasing autism prevalence or diagnoses, there's also been a significant increase in maternal and paternal age. Couldn't that be a significant contributor?
With what?
Beyond maternal and paternal age.
Yeah, we're going to look at all of that. We're going to look at obesity in the parents. We're going to look at the age of the parents. We're going to look at diabetes in the parents. We're going to look at all these potential exposures.
What about stress?
Because of AI and because of the digitalization of health records and the mass of health records.
Because like none of
that are
it for
now
my
available to
parents
us,
was
we
diabetes
can do
or
this much
obesity
more quickly than has ever been done
or
in the
anything like
past.
that.
Cheyenne. This is our last question. Thank you.
Do you still pledge to have answers by September, or is that going to be the beginning of this process? And are you open to following the science regardless of whether it confirms some of your expectations?
What's up, Georgia Floyd? How you doing?
We're going to follow the science no matter what it says.
Doing all right.
And
How are you?
We will have some of the answers by September. it's going to be an evolving process. We're going to involve, we're going to issue grants the way that it's always done to university researchers and others. We're going to remove the taboo. People will know they can research and they can follow the science no matter what it says.
Wait, was
without
there a
any kind
taboo?
of fear that they're going to be censored, that they're going to be gaslighted, that they're going to be silenced, they're going to be defunded, delicensed, and we're going to give them permission to do this research. And then we're going to open it up to the research community, and we're going to task them.
I'm going to research it. Give me a grant, RFK. Give me a grant.
We're going to have them come and bid on how to do the research.
Can I do
This is all
psychedelic
being
research?
run by Jay Bhattacharya and I think Martin Kulldorff may be also working on this on designing the grant proposals. So
nice rage bait attempt, Georgia. Actually not.
From all over the
very
world, and we're going to do it very, very quickly.
generic.
Yeah, one more question. Can you identify yourself?
There's a taboo about vaccines causing it. He probably wants to look more into that. I see.
I think we're going to figure out a way to make pressure on them to remove it. And I think also, there will be market forces that also exert pressure on them to remove it. And I want to say that I'm very grateful to President Trump because he tasked me on day one of this job with making this a priority, of finding out what's causing the autism epidemic, and we are going to do it for him. Thank you all very much.
Okay, yeah, so it was Trump's idea. Trump is the one concerned about the autism epidemic, having RFK do his bidding. Got it. As they're defunding Harvard and Columbia, Jesus. That was an eye-opening fucking speech. Maybe not in the way he wanted it to be, but in the way that it's like, what the fuck is happening? Am I gonna be okay? I'm gonna be okay, yes. Oh my god, bro, you're insane. Alright, Georgia. You need to take a chill pill.
Humble,
Okay.
kind, honest, and you feel
Okay, so
that
what
your
was
child is safe around them.
You're really trying to find somebody that when you're not looking, they're doing the
Let me
right
look it
things.
up. Oh, I'd have to find her video.
Say for the sake of argument, your friend Gabe is starting to worry you. Gabe's always been just, a regular guy, not very political. He likes video games, sci-fi, comics, Star Wars, and anime. White guy shit. The only offbeat thing about him is you suspect there's like a 20% chance he's a furry.
Actually,
For all intents
RFK
and
had been playing
purposes-
this game long before Trump. I don't get why everyone thinks Trump is the mastermind. Oh, well, I say that because he just said that. He said he's doing it for Trump. He's getting it done for him. That's because it came right out of RFK's mouth. That's why I said that. But I mean, I've heard RFK talk about a lot of things with like the chemicals that are in food and things like that in America and the pesticides, which is completely valid. Like, I validate that a lot. But just the things about his speech, I see why it made people feel uncomfortable because, like, one of the key points he made about autism being an issue is they don't pay taxes. You don't see them at the mall. And then, yeah, right at the end there, out of the horse's mouth, RFK himself said, Trump tasked me day one, said he wanted this done, and I'm getting it done for you, Trump. That is why I say what I say. Not because it's like people are saying this, but because he said it. So, yeah, for the show, whatever. Puppet show, yeah, sure. For sure. And then Roger Stone's just sitting back with his Richard Nixon tattoo, like, like, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Gabe is a normie. But recently, Gabe's been spending a lot of time on some radically
Follow the
conservative
show.
forums and listening to
With
radically
real-world,
conservative podcasts
consequences.
and picking some radically conservative arguments with you and your friends. You never would have expected this, not from Gabe. And given the speed it's happened, it's worrying to think where it might be headed.
Right, it's like
How
also,
have the
can you tell
alt-right
if someone's
gotten their
autistic
hooks
solely
into
by
your
looking
friend?
at them from like a
If you've ever
fucking
known a
50-foot
Gabe,
distance?
this video's for you.
A lot of
Here's
the time I
how
can't.
to
Unless they're like
radicalize a
doing a
normie.
Naruto run or something.
Step
Then maybe
1,
I'm like...
identify the audience. What you need to know before we begin is around 2013, the Nazis went online. Hate groups in the US, as tracked by the Southern Poverty Law Center, had been growing in number since the Knots, but between 2012 and 2014, they dropped by almost a quarter. Patriot groups dropped by over a third. However, hate crimes stayed about the same. Radical conservatism was not shrinking, but decentralizing. Still radical and still often violent, but now full of white nationalist nomads unlikely to join a formal organization. This didn't make them harmless. What it did was protect their asses from the typical hate group cycle of getting the public's attention, making allies in conservative media, swelling their numbers, and then eventually disgracing themselves with failures in fighting and, often enough, members committing horrific acts of violence, which come with social and sometimes legal consequences for all the other members. So the alt-right and their fellow travelers these days don't so much have members. They have hashtags, followers, viewers, and subscribers. This insulates them from their own audience. If Gabe, as a member of that audience, were to go out and commit a crime on their behalf, there'd be little doubt they had a hand in radicalizing him, but it'd be very hard to claim they told him to do it. On some of these sites where Gabe spends hours and hours of his day, he's never created an account or left a comment. The people radicalizing him don't even know he's there. This distributed nature is what makes the alt-right and the movements connected to it unique. You may remember a notable proof of concept for this strategy. Doing almost everything online has, as compared with traditional hate movements, dramatically increased their reach and inoculated them from consequence. The trade-off is a lack of control. And so we come to Gabe. Gabe exists at the intersection of the kinds of people the alt-right is looking for, straight white cis men who feel emasculated by modern society, primarily, though they do make exceptions, and the kinds of people who are vulnerable to recruitment. Gabe fits the first profile in that he got bullied in high school and often feels he has to hide his nerdy side for fear of getting ridiculed. The alt-right also has success with men who can't get laid, or recently got divorced, or feel anxious about an influx of non-white people in their community. These things can make one feel like
Trans.
less than the confident white man they
Bro,
are
why are you so
supposed
concerned
to be.
with what's in my
And
pants?
it's the closest they will ever come
being
to
weird.
being minoritized. Regarding the second
Get outta
profile,
here.
it's important to know that Gabe is not
Shoo.
categorically different
Fuck.
from you or me. He's a cishet white dude. His problems are not unique.
It's
There's
like-
not a ton
like
of research into the
mosquitoes trying to
demography of
bite
the
at my
alt-right, but
fucking
there may be
dick,
a
bro.
higher
Like,
than
what do
average
you
chance
want
Gabe
from
has
me?
a history of being abused or comes from a broken home. You don't know if that's true of Gabe, he's never
They're
said.
Karens?
But
Why
most
do you
abuse
wanna know what's in my
survivors don't
pants?
become Nazis.
What is
The
wrong
things that
with
make
you?
people like Gabe recruitable tend to be situational. It happens often
Freak.
during periods of transition, as
Y'all
dramatic
worried about
as the
trans
death
people
of
in
a
the
loved
fucking
one,
bathroom, but
or
you're
as
going
benign
around
as
everywhere like,
moving to
"It's
a
in
new
your
city.
pants!"
Things
Bitch,
that
I
make
don't
people
wanna tell
ask
you.
big life questions. Gabe has concerns like economic precarity, not knowing his place in a changing world, stressful working conditions. In other words, Gabe is suffering under late capitalism, same as everyone, and it's entirely plausible he could have gone down the path to becoming a leftist. Now, this is
One
not
second, I
to
gotta
make
send a
an
message.
economic
Y'all ever record an entire fucking audio message and then it didn't record? I've never done that before. Okay, I just lied. Dude, I feel so dumb. It's okay, I stuttered because I was kind of nervous sending it. So, I'm gonna give it another shot. Bro, I swear to God, Elon Musk is trolling me. I've tried to send this audio message several times, and it's like, it won't let me send it. So I guess I'll just suffer. Maybe I'll type it out later. Okay.
Anxiety
That's
argument. The animating force of the far right is and always has been bigotry.
Is this guy talking shit to
but
me?
the alt-right targets Gabe by treating his economic anxiety as one of many things bigotry can be sold as a solution to. It is their aim that when dissatisfied white men go looking for answers, they find the alt-right before they find us. Step 2. Establish a community.
She got a touch of the
Were Gabe
tism.
pledging
I
an
had a
old school
tism
hate
soon
movement, there
on
would
me, my
probably
bad.
be a recruiter to usher him into an existing community.
Cybertronian
But that's the kind of
transfer
formalized
trans-
interaction modern extremists tend to
Damn, some
avoid.
people are
Online extremism has
the
many
fuck
points
you
of
live in?
entry and everybody's journey is unique, so
Are you
rather
talking
than
about
be comprehensive,
What the
we
fuck?
will focus on what
Is he
are, in
living
my
in a
estimation,
10
the
square
two
meter
most
apartment? Yeah.
common pathways.
I
The
actually
far
live in a
right
shoe.
creates a community Gabe is likely to stumble into, or infiltrates a community Gabe is already in. The stumble upon method has two main branches, one of which is just Gabe ends up on a Chan board, which we've already done a video about. The other is kind of the polar opposite of 4chan's cult of anonymity. Gabe ends up in the fandom of a far-right thought leader. These folks are charismatic media personalities. That's charismatic according to Gabe's tastes, not ours. I don't understand it either. And these personalities may gain traction on any number of platforms, from podcasts to reportage to blogging, though the most effective platform for red pilling is, and yes, I am biting the hand that feeds me, YouTube. They may get Gabe's attention through fairly conventional means, like talking about or even generating controversy to get themselves trending, while some of the more committed will employ dubious SEO tactics like clickbait, Google bombing, and data voids. But what they tend to have in common, especially the most accessible ones, is that they don't present themselves as entry points to the radical right. In fact, many did not set out to be far-right thought leaders, and may not think of themselves as such, though they are often selling products of which the alt-right are among their biggest purchasers, and it's not like they're turning the money away, so there's that. How they present is the same way anyone presents who wants to be successful on social media.
Hi, my name is here's my pants, or here's my things in my pants.
The face-to-face relationship a budding extremist forms with their recruiter or the leader of their hate group's local chapter are here folded into one parasocial relationship with a complete stranger. Why this person appeals to Gabe is they're not selling politics as politics, but conservatism as a kind of lifestyle brand. They rely heavily on critiquing or ridiculing the left. Feminists are oversensitive, black people unintelligent, queer folks doomed to loneliness, and trans people insane. I don't know if it's a coincidence that these are all things Gabe thinks about himself in his low moments. By contrast, they don't sell conservatism as having sounder policies or a more coherent moral framework, but that abandoning progressive principles and embracing conservative ones will make Gabe happier. Remember, Gabe isn't looking for white nationalism or misogyny. What he wants is the cure to his soul sickness. And these friendly micro-celebs are here to offer a shot of life advice with politics as the chaser. It is extremely important that politics be presented as a set of affects, not a set of beliefs. The second pathway is infiltration, which is its own beast. Media personalities sometimes become gateways to the right almost by accident. They do something edgy, a part of their audience reacts positively, and facing no real consequence, they do it more. This leads to further positive reinforcement from conservative fans, the rest of the audience acclimates, and the cycle repeats, the personality pushing the envelope further and further based on what flies with their increasingly conservative audience. In this way, they become a right-wing figure by both radicalizing and being radicalized by their audience. Infiltration is deliberate. The far right will reliably target any community that has 1. A large white male population, 2. Whose niche interests allow them to feel vaguely marginalized, and 3. Who are not used to progressive critique of said interest. This isn't to say progressive critique doesn't exist or hasn't been baked into the property from the beginning, but that it has been so far easy for white guys to ignore. As such, progressives within that community probably don't talk politics much, and women and minorities are perfectly welcome to post, same as anyone, but just, don't make identity politics, like a thing. Given Gabe's proclivities, he's probably already in a number of fan communities where he can geek out and not get
What
teased.
about my place
And
is
this is
ugly
where the
and
far
dirty?
right will go
Or are you
looking for him.
projecting?
Communities
Okay,
are at
so
their most vulnerable
here's a
to
pair of
infiltration
shorts,
at times of
and a
political
pair of pants I
discord.
was wearing
This can
earlier.
happen naturally.
I'm now moving
Say,
them
a
here.
new property in the fandom has a
This
black
pillow?
protagonist, or it can be
So
provoked.
comfortable.
Say, a bunch of channers
So
join the forum and
comfortable.
say provocative things
This
about race to
pillow
get people arguing.
was free.
Or both.
It was free.
Left to its own devices, the community might sort out its differences and maybe even come out more
This
progressive
leaf
than they started.
represents a
But with the
monstera
right
plant.
pressure applied in the right moment, these communities can devolve into arguments about the need to
This pillow
remove a nebulously
was also
defined
free.
politics from the conversation.
This tape
The adage about bros on the internet
is
is
for when assholes
political
like you
means
need to
anything I
shut-
disagree with. But it would be more
Anyways,
accurate to say
this
here,
says,
political means anything on
enjoy
which
the
the
little things.
community disagrees. For
None
instance,
of these
Nazis
objects
are bad
are soiled.
is an apolitical statement because everyone in the
This-
community agrees.
Hold
it's
on, I'll turn it
common
up.
sense and therefore neutral. But
This is my painting.
paradoxically, Nazis
I
are
have
good
been working on this
is also apolitical.
since 2020.
Because Nazis are bad is the consensus, Nazis are good
It will be
must
finished
just be an edgy joke. And even if
before
not,
May.
the community already believes the opposite, so the statement is harmless, tolerable. However,
This is
feminism
a tapestry
good
that was
is
gifted
a
to
political
me,
statement
which
because the
sparks
community
joy.
hasn't reached a consensus. It is debatable
I am sitting
and
on a
therefore
comfy
political,
cushion.
and you should stop talking about
This
it.
is a chair.
And making political arguments, no matter how rational, is
These are
having an
curtains.
agenda, and having an agenda is ruining the community.
This is part
Now,
of
it
a
is curious
cosplay.
how the things that provoke the most disagreement tend to be
flags.
whichever ones make white dudes uncomfortable.
I will soon do
One
this
of life's
cosplay.
great unanswerable mysteries.
It will be very cute.
You can gather where this is going. A community that doesn't tolerate
This
progressivism, but does tolerate
is a Christmas
Nazism,
light
is going to start collecting Nazis.
that also sparks
Nazis
joy.
whose goal is to drive
Now,
a
sir,
wedge between the community and the
can
left.
I ask you,
Once the left acknowledges, hey, your community is
about
developing
this
a
room?
Nazi problem, the Nazis,
What about
who
this
are,
room?
remember, trusted apolitical members of the
Is
community who
ugly
might just be kidding about
or
all the
dirty?
Nazi shit, say,
Which
did you
object?
hear that, guys? Those cultural
could show
Marxists
you more
just
if you'd
called
like.
all of us Nazis.
More corners?
Wedge. Similarly, any community members who
These are
say,
incense
but
and
Nazis,
Palo
though,
Santo,
are framed as
which
infiltrators
I will
pushing
now
an agenda, even if they've been there longer than the Nazis have.
to
They
get
get
rid
the
of your
wedge, too.
bad vibes, sir.
This is how fandoms radicalize. They are built as, yeah, I'll say it, safe spaces for nerds, weebs, and furries, and are told that the left is a threat to their safety. And given a choice between leaving
This
a community
is
that has
a
mattered to
dresser
him
my
for
wife
years
painted.
and simply adjusting to the community's shifting politics,
This sparks
the
joy.
assumption is that Gabe will stay.
This is a
This assumption
jewelry
is right
box
often enough,
my
but
wife
a lot
painted.
of fandoms have been colonized.
This also
What is true
sparks
of
joy.
both these methods, Gabe finding the right or the
This
right finding
is
him, is
a
that Gabe does
painting
not
my
come
wife
nor
painted.
stay for the ideology.
Also sparks
He's
joy.
here for the community, the sense of being with his
This
people,
is a
of having
tapestry
his fears validated
given to
and
me
his
by
enjoyment
a
shared.
friend of
The
mine,
ideology
which
is
also
simply the price of
sparks
admission.
joy. You see her?
Step 3.
She is
Isolate.
painting a new world.
There is a vast,
In
interconnected
hell.
network of far-right
The hell
communities
humans
out there,
have
and
created.
Gabe is, at this point,
She is
only on the
creating a better
periphery.
world.
In order to keep him
That
in,
is the moon.
they need to disrupt his
there.
relationships to other
That's the
communities and
moon.
become more and more his
Which
primary
also
online
sparks
social
joy.
space. Having made this
What
space hostile to the
about my
left, they now
room
seek
is
to break his
ugly
connections
to you,
to
sir?
progressives
Or are
elsewhere
you
in
just
his life.
ugly on the
This is
inside?
hard to do online. The whole appeal of moving radicalism to the internet is that your away from keyboard life doesn't have to
Come on, I'm gonna
change. You
kick
are
your ass,
crypto the
bro.
moment you log off. Some thought leaders will encourage
I'll
their
die
audience to
poor, I
cut ties
guess.
with family of origin or DFU. But even then,
Yes,
they
childhood
can't monitor
trauma,
whether the
yeah.
audience has actually
Is she
done it in
crazy?
the
Is
way
this
an
how Americans
in-person
live? Where are
movement
you
could.
from?
And so alienating Gabe from the left is less controlled and consequently
Thank you for the follow,
maybe
Plumco.
less total. How much Gabe isolates is up to
Hey
him.
now, be mine.
But the
Childhood
vast
trauma
majority of
manifests in
far-right
different ways for
media
different people. Yeah,
presumes
no
an
one else in
alienation
chat
from
is
the
as
left.
shitty as that
Part
guy
of
is.
conservative bloggers and YouTubers making
Flamco,
the left
I
look
love you.
pathetic
Thank you.
is
Do you
doing
do
a lot
Soul
of
Simon?
takedowns and
I do.
responses.
I
This is
do.
a constant repetition
Just looking very
of the
messy
left's
and dusty,
arguments
especially
for
your
the purpose
floor.
of mockery.
My dude.
And for Gabe, it starts
can't
to
even see
replace
my
any
floor.
engagement with progressive
I'm
media
sitting
directly.
on a fucking.
He
This
soon
is a
knows
blanket.
the left only through caricature.
This is a blanket.
It also trains him, if he does
On-
directly
on a
engage, to
mattress.
approach the left with the same
Where
combative
is the
stance as
dust
his
or
role
the
models.
dirt?
For reference, see my
Where?
comment section. And this is only if he doesn't
Also,
partake in one
I
of the
literally
many
just
active
got out of the
boycotts
bath
of
before I went to
SJW
bed.
media. In
I
addition
slept
to
with my
mocking the
hair
left's
wet, which is
arguments,
why it
they
has these
also,
lovely
curiously,
mermaid waves.
appropriate them. This
Which
is
is
one
why
part
Plamco thinks I
sanitization
look like a
because
Disney
liberal
princess.
centrism is more socially
Like,
acceptable.
you're the weird
Indeed,
one,
many
bro.
figures on the outer layers
You're
think
just
of themselves
trolling.
as moderates, even as they serve as gateways to radicalism. But also,
Thank
many
you.
of Gabe's problems could be addressed by progressive leftism, so they sell him racist and sexist versions of it. Yes, there is a problem with workers being underpaid and overextended.
Why are you being
but
offended
the
to some
solution
random
isn't
person in the
unions,
internet?
it's
Why are
deporting
you in my
immigrants.
chat?
Yes, there is
trying
a
to
chronic
offend me?
loneliness and anger to being a
You're
man in the
projecting
modern
because
age.
I'm not
but it's not because of the
offended.
toxic
I'm just
masculine
showing you how
expectations placed
joyful
on you
my
by the
room is because
patriarchy.
for some
It's
reason
women
you're
being
ugly on the
slutty.
inside.
Yes, wealth disparity
Maybe you should
does
bring
mean a tiny
more things
percentage
into
of
your
elites have
environment
more
that spark
influence
joy,
over
and you
culture
wouldn't
and
feel the need
politics
to
than
go
the
out
rest
of your
of us
way to try and
combined.
offend
But the
people and
problem
then
isn't
laugh at them for
capitalism.
being offended.
It's the Jews.
Not offended.
And it's hard
It's
for
just
Gabe
weird,
to
man.
reject any of these ideas without, in the process, rejecting the progressive ideas they're copied from.
If you knew
the
me,
right's
you'd probably be
take the
shocked.
red
I
pill
mean,
is
based
to
off
the
the
untrained
personality
eye
you're sharing
similar
with
to the
me,
left's
I'm glad
Get
that I don't
Woke,
know you.
or at least the bowdlerized version of Get Woke that is no longer specifically about race, which came to fashion once white people started saying it. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Take the red pill or reject them both. Either is a step to the right. As this rhetoric
put room
slips
tour
into
on
his
the channel
day-to-day
points.
conversation, even as seemingly harmless irreverence, it may strain relationships with people who are not entertained by this shit. Off-color comments about race and gender can certainly be wearying for female and non-white friends, which can lead to a passive distance or an eventual confrontation, which only seems to confirm what his reactionary community says about liberal snowflakes. If he says these things on social
Like, look
media,
at this
he may
box,
get his
bro.
account
Look
suspended.
at what she did.
And if he comes
She
back under
said
an alt,
that she could
you
have
can
done
bet
better.
his
I
new
think this is
reactionary
perfect,
friends
bro.
will be the
Look at
first
this.
to reconnect, applaud the behavior
Look how
that got
wonderful
him
this is.
banned, and repeat should he get banned again. A few cycles of this, and he's lost touch with everyone else. Also, his adoption of the insular, meme-laden terminology
I need
of
to
his
change
community
my
makes him
chat
less and less
alerts.
comprehensible to outsiders.
I'm no longer sponsored with that
Over
game. If you guys
time,
download it,
sources
it won't
of
do shit for
information
me.
get replaced with community-approved
But I
ones.
did make
Conservative
$42
news,
on the whole thing,
conservative YouTube,
which is the
conservative Wikipedia
number
if he's
that is
really
the secret to the
committed.
universe.
The
So,
algorithm soon takes note
fuck
and
yeah,
stops
thank you guys.
recommending
I appreciate
media
it.
from the
We'll do
left.
another one soon.
He stops watching shows with a liberal
Yeah,
agenda,
true. It's because
which
she's a world
usually
builder
means
too.
shows
She's
starring
just
women
like
and people
always
of color. Now, there is evidence that the
imagining
human mind
how it can all
responds
be
to
better.
fictional characters similarly to real people,
What is this shit
and that
running in the
consuming diverse
background? That
media
is the
can
most
decrease
ironic
bigotry
comment
in
I
ways
have
roughly
seen in
analogous
chat
to
all
having a
day.
diverse group of friends, which is one of many reasons we say representation matters.
You win.
By consuming a homogenous media diet,
That's what I mean.
Gabe
That's why I
stymies
cried
his
earlier,
ability
man.
to
10
have
levels of
even
irony.
parasocial relationships with anyone who isn't a cishet conservative white dude or one of their approved
Yeah, asking
exceptions.
questions is good.
To the extent that any of this happens,
Keep asking.
It happens at Gabe's discretion and at his
Also,
own
better
chosen
yet,
pace.
here, I'll
It
give you the
has
video
not
so you
been
can watch the
forced
full
on
thing
him,
by
only
yourself
encouraged
later.
and rewarded. But
And
the
listen
fact
to
that
everything.
it hasn't been forced
Every
can
word.
make him all the more willing to accept it, because it seems safe to consider. Even though his life and social circle are changing to accommodate, he does not feel committed. But many
This
Gabes have walked these halls,
is
and
hair
if
gel.
they close the door
For
behind
some reason.
them,
It's my
there's
travel
nowhere
hair
left
gel
to go
for
but
cosplaying.
down. Step 4. Raise their power level.
I don't
And
give
they
a
say
shit.
We ruined anime.
I don't give a shit, man.
Consider the ecosystem of the alt-right as layers of an onion, with Gabe sitting at the edge and ready to traverse
Point is the
towards the
video.
center.
Watch the
No, I'm
video.
not just going
This
to
is the
reiterate the
background.
PewDiePie pipeline, though
The
if
video
you
is in
haven't seen it,
foreground.
I recommend that you do. The outer layer of the onion is extremism at its most plausibly deniable. Without careful scrutiny, the public-facing
I'm like an onion
figureheads
as well.
could pass as dispassionate, and the websites as merely problematic rather than softly fascist. It is valuable if Gabe believes this as well, that at this stage, he believed the bigotry is simply trolling, the extremists an insignificant
you run it?
minority, and any report of
It's an important
harassment
topic.
faked. That he believe where he is as deep as the rabbit hole goes, and that he continue to believe this at each successive layer. People in the deepest crevices of the alt-right self-report getting red-pilled on multiple issues at different times in their journey to the center of the onion. If Gabe's first red pill is about the SJWs coming for his free speech, he'll think that's all anyone in his community believes. There's no real racism here. People are just making a point about their right to offend people. Then, when he gets red-pilled on the white genocide,
say that
he'll
my
laugh at
wife
those
made
alt-light
the
cucks
dresser
who tried
and
to
the
sweep the race
jewelry
realists under
box,
the rug,
so
and
I
at
think
himself
your
for having once
suspicion
been one,
might be
but
based off
acknowledge
me
that those
telling you
channels
that
and
that was
websites
the
are still
case.
useful for onboarding people, so he won't
I also
denounce
have a
them.
boyfriend,
At the
though,
same
so-
time, nobody
Not
takes those
completely lesbian.
manosphere betas seriously. And this process
I'm what
is
they call a
reiterated with every pill
pansexual.
swallowed. Gender essentialism, autogynephilia, birtherism, Sandy Hook truth, Pizzagate, QAnon if he's really out there. The heart of the onion is typically the Jewish question, but these can happen in any order and in any number. But each layer sells itself as being finally the ultimate truth. Each denies the validity of the others. The layers ahead, they don't exist, and you are certainly not being directed
How old
towards
am
them.
I?
They're just the fevered
How old are
imaginations of
you?
overreacting liberals.
You answer
While the
first.
people behind are asleep, where you
Chat
are now
knows how old I
awake.
am.
That's why
They're all
they chose
OGs.
the
They've been
red
following
pill
for a
as their
minute.
metaphor.
They didn't just sign
Take
up
it,
today to troll.
and everything will be revealed.
They already know me like that. We're
That's
cool
why
like that.
it cozies up with conspiracism. But what's supposed to follow is that
Almost
this
just left the
knowledge
chat. No, why?
helped Gabe in some way, and it doesn't.
Why would you leave?
Blaming immigrants doesn't actually fix the economy, and hating women doesn't make men less lonely. But having been alienated from everything outside the onion, once that sinks in,
You're 23,
the only
word.
recourse on offer is to seek out the
I'm
next
28.
pill. And pills are easy to
42
find.
is the
Those
answer.
within
42.
the network have
I'm 42. I'm gonna
laissez-faire
start telling people I'm
relationships,
42.
even if they on
I'm
paper
42.
disavow one another. When they
Forever.
need a source
Forever
or a guest
42.
host, they aren't going to go to the
That's
left.
gonna be my
They're going
prime,
to feature
guys.
each
Like,
other.
people are
the
like, oh,
left
your
is
20s
the
are your
enemy. Their
prime.
ideas are
Oh,
beneath
no, 30s are
consideration,
really
and
where
the
it's
only
at for
reason
me.
to
It's
engage them
42.
is for public humiliation. But you can interview a Western
You thought I was
chauvinist, and that doesn't
19?
mean you're endorsing him. Just, it's
And you
fine to
thought I
hear
had
him
a
out. Nothing
penis.
should be off limits in the
I'm
marketplace of
honored.
ideas. Besides, Nazis are apolitical. And because these folks keep showing up in each other's metadata, regardless of what they say, Google thinks there
Guys,
is
I'm
definitely a
flexing on the
relationship
haters.
between the guy just asking questions
Oh my
and the
god.
guy
I'm
denying
sorry,
the
that was
Holocaust.
corny. That was so corny. I
Gabe
felt
is
corny
softly
saying that.
exposed to many flavors of conservatism, just slightly more radical than he is now, and is expected, at the very least, to not question their presence.
Speaking of
This is an
flexing.
environment where de-radicalizing,
I was gonna get on
listening to the
TikTok.
left,
Oh, well.
would be sleeping with the
I was
enemy.
also gonna do
But
my makeup.
radicalizing further,
Fuck.
you do you, buddy. Gabe's
I
emotional
just wish my wife would
journey,
call me back,
however,
honestly.
is somewhat more complex. If you spend any time reading or watching reactionary media, you've probably noticed it's
I'm gonna start
really
dabbing with weights, bro.
fucking
Oh my god, I'm gonna get so
repetitive.
swole.
It's a few thousand phrasings of the same handful of arguments, like there's only so many jokes about attack helicopters. But these people just crank out content, and most of it's derivative. The reason to pick one personality over another isn't because they say something different, but because they say it differently. Gabe just picks the affect it's delivered in. Repetition dulls the shock of the most egregious statements, making them appear normal and prepping him for more extreme ideas. Meanwhile, the arguments themselves, they're not good. Like, BreadTube will never run out of shit to debunk. They are repetitive because they're not good. They're mantric. A good argument you only need to hear one time. If you can follow it, internalize it, and explain it to someone else, you know you've understood it. But a bad argument can't convince you on its own merits, so it will often rely on
Sweet of
affect.
Nanya.
This can be the snappy,
Yeah,
thought-terminating
I'm really
cliche,
deep in the
or the
Nanya woods.
long, winding diatribe that sounds really sensible while you're hearing it, but when someone asks you for the gist, you can only say, go watch these 17 videos and it'll all make sense. Both these approaches are largely devoid of content, but gosh, if they don't sound sure of themselves. And that mode can be very persuasive. But it doesn't stick the way a coherent argument does. It needs to be repeated, the affect replenished, because the words matter less than the delivery. There needs to be a steady stream of confident voices saying, we've got this shit figured out and everyone else is stupid, or Gabe's gonna notice the flaws. They are not well hidden. And the catch-22 of returning to that stream over and over is that these communities are stressful even as they are calming. People afraid they will die virgins go to forums with people who share and validate that fear, and also say, yes, you will die a virgin. People afraid Syrians are coming to kill us all watch videos by people who share and validate that fear, and also say, yes, Syrians are coming to kill us all. Others have already pointed out that rubbing your face in your worst anxieties is a form of digital self-harm, but I need you to understand the toxic recursion of it. Gabe is going to these communities to get upset. Every emotion is converted into anger because sadness, fear, and despair are paralyzing, but anger is motivating.
I told you I'm in
Whatever
the
his
Nanya
problems,
Woods.
there's always someone he can scapegoat for them, and Gabe feels less helpless when he's pissed off. And so while he's topping up on reassuring nonsense, he's also topping up on stress. And being cut off from everyone outside the network, the only place he knows to go to release that stress is back to the place that gives it to him. It's a feedback loop, pulling him deeper and deeper on the promise that, at some point, relief will come. It is a similar dynamic that keeps people in abusive relationships. When someone in Gabe's community makes a racist joke, they are presenting Gabe with a choice between the human interaction of laughing with his friends and his societal responsibility not to be a fucking racist. And not laughing seems ridiculous. Everybody's friends here, no one's getting hurt. This is harmless. And so the irreverent race joke draws a line between the personal and the political and suggests that one can be safely prioritized over the other. One way to look at radicalization is being asked to stick with that seemingly innocuous decision as the stakes are raised incrementally. First with edgier humor, and then comments that are funny because they're shocking, but you couldn't really call them jokes, and then funny comments that are also sincerely angry. But in each instance, since he laughed with his bros the last time, it stands to reason he should keep favoring the personal over some abstracted notion of politics.
Bro, I
This
just
is why
sent
the
a voice
progressive
note.
adage, the
I just sent a
personal
voice note.
is
I just sent a
political.
voice note and it actually went through because it was Facebook, not X. And fuck Elon. Zuckerberg sucks, but not as much as Elon. I hate Elon. All my homies hate Elon. Okay. I sent a voice message and it was 42 seconds long. Bro. Hey. I'm sorry. I just want to say that. How often do I take psilocybin? The last time I took psilocybin was like 2 weeks ago, I think. How often I take it? Not like super often. Probably less than people who drink alcohol socially drink alcohol. I don't really drink alcohol either. Sometimes I microdose, but I don't do it very frequently. I actually played a little mushroom drinking game a few weeks ago, where I ate a mushroom for every time somebody's like, "Are you trans? Whore yourself" on Discord. So like I ended up eating a fuck ton of mushrooms a few weeks ago. But it was great. It was amazing. I loved it. Great experience. It just reminded me that like where it all comes from, man. And it's just like looking at it, I'm just like, it's so silly, bro. People that are hateful, you're really so silly. And then I just kind of reaffirmed who I want to be and what I want to do in the world, and I felt stronger after it. So if you're a new psilocybin user, maybe don't do that. Just go with your intuition, do it in a safe environment. People you trust, by yourself. If you feel start microdosing too before you ever do any like bigger doses, I'd say. Can be a lot all at once if you go right into it. Where did I go? Oh my god, it was edgy Discord. And it's weird because I like toggled on Discord not safe for work because I wanted like adult only, but it's not an adult only server. I'm like, okay. But it's like there's like some obscene shit in there, dude. Like I'm like, you guys are actually insane. It's pretty whack. I honestly don't recommend it. I don't recommend it, but if you're curious, just be aware that the vast majority of people in there are incredibly toxic. Um, because it's exactly what this dude is describing, honestly, which is like I'm kind of intrigued by it because I'm like, like what the fuck? But he's describing why that happens. But it is sad because people are being radicalized. Like we're seeing fucking shootings all the time. Um And yeah, I'm actually like working on a research project to do with some of this stuff. And it's, yeah, we live in a fucking crazy world, dude. Crazy. People hate to hate. True. And a lot of it is like environmental. And it's like, it's sad because it's like one of the highest populated servers. And it's just like, I think at a certain point, people don't have a strong sense of self. So they kind of just fold to whatever their environment is and just, you know, mimic each other with like cringy shit. Yeah, yikes. Yikes. Yeah, there's definitely some people in there and I like talked to like one of the moderators and like there's one person who keeps getting banned and making known accounts that is it might be a honeypot. I don't fucking know, but he's like a known pedo. And he keeps making new accounts. I don't recollect his name, but he like told me about him and I'm like, is there like a blacklist that I should know about? 'Cause like this is like weird. Um, and there's not one, but it's like such a high volume. Like I said, it's like one of the biggest servers. It's such a high volume server. Um, and that's why so many people are in there. But I've had some really interesting, like good interactions, and I've made friends with people and gone to like other servers that are like way more chill because of it, because it's just like a lot of people in there. So I've met like somebody who's like Maori, who's very cool, someone from the UK that's like a very interesting guy, and just like people all over the world that they're cool people, like they haven't done anything fucking weird, they're just there to like hang out. But just yeah, it's because like when you get like anything like X or Facebook or fucking RuneScape, Roblox, like when you get like a anonymity and just like a lot of people, I feel like it just kind of garners a lot of chaos. Because yeah, you think about it, like you go on X, there's fucking minors you're interacting with all the time on there. And it's like, I don't know. This is why I am a proponent of like we should have designated like some kind of verification for like an adult only internet. I kind of feel that way for certain things, but it's we don't really have that verification system right now, I don't think, or we might, I don't know. I think we could do it, but unfortunately there's still a lot of people who kind of profit off exploitation of others, which is really disgusting. But that's why I love things that kind of deconstruct that, because I personally, when I was younger, was a victim of things like that, and I've seen like people in the server like with like self-harm scars, and I'm like, bro, like take care of yourself, because like there's just kind of an infinite amount of people who would fuck with you, unfortunately. Yo, what's up, Patrick? How you doing? But that's another thing, like I don't know, like the thing that RFK said about like hitting your head, there's like a big overlap with like autism and self-harm, and it's not always hitting your head. Like some people have like like cutting, or they have addictions, or like different variations of self-harm. Um, and it's just so many people have struggled with addiction, I feel like since like what, like World War II? I feel like addiction's gotten worse since like the 80s, 90s. That's like the big epidemic in my opinion. And Gabor Mate has a lot to say about that. It's really interesting to hear Gabor Mate speak about addiction and how it is caused by trauma. So
is
yeah.
among the most threatening things you can say
And
in
it's
these.
also really interesting to hear Gabor talk about psychedelics as a potential solution, and that's what I'd love to see RFK like maybe explore more, if that's like if his intentions really are to address like what's happening with autistic people. I can think of countless friends of mine where they're like neurodiverse, neurospicy, and things like psychedelics or MDMA have helped them kind of like process through the things that have happened to fuck up their brain and make them nonverbal or make them have issues.
Spaces. I'm not trying to make a slippery slope argument. Most of us who laughed at edgy jokes when we were teenagers didn't grow up to be Nazis. It is a slippery slope in the specific context of being in community with people trying to radicalize you. Gabe is a lonely white boy in need of friends, and laughing at a racist joke
Twitch,
is personal,
YouTube,
and not
Kick
laughing
right
is
now.
political. Staying in a community that has Nazis in it is personal, and leaving is political. The personal is what brings people together, and the political drives them apart. The only if some of them are bigots part of that sentence is usually lopped off. There's this joke on the internet that nerds perceive only two races, white and political. Following that logic, what could be more apolitical than an ethno-state? They are banking on his willingness to adapt his beliefs to suit an environment that meets a need. That same need can be satisfied by white nationalism. There are few things more seductive to people who doubt their own worth than being told you are valuable simply for being white, and you can sub in male, cis, straight, allosexual, or able-bodied. It just takes priming. By the time Gabe officially embraces bigotry, he's already been acting like a bigot for months. The red pill is just the moment he says it out loud. Change Gabe's surroundings, and you change Gabe. Step 5. The final step in a traditional extremist group would be getting a mission. But that is one thing the alt-right can't do. Once you start giving clear directives, you can't play yourselves off as a bunch of unaffiliated hashtags and think tanks. You are now a formalized movement accountable to its followers, and can be judged and policed as such. To my mind, Charlottesville was an attempt to become such a movement, taking things offline and getting all the different groups working collectively. And as so often happens when these people get in the same space, especially with no official leaders and no means of control over their members, it backfired. Their true colors came out before they were ready, and a counter-protester lost her life. This would be the point where historically an extremist group starts to disintegrate. Their veneer of respectability gone, they are now hated by the public, the media wants nothing more to do with them, and everyone not in jail turns on each other or goes underground. This is also the point where the liberal establishment says, my job here is done, and utterly fails to retake control of the narrative, allowing the next batch of radicals to pick up more or less where the last one left off. But to an already decentralized group like the alt-right, Charlottesville was bad, but eminently survivable. People retreated back to the internet with its code words and anonymous forums, but that's where much of the work was already done anyway. The platforms where they organized kept tolerating them, the authorities didn't classify them as terrorists, and any disgraced figureheads were replaced with up-and-comers. The major change in strategy is that it doesn't seem anyone has tried to formalize the alt-right since. So where does that leave Gabe? He's gone through this whole process of largely hands-off indoctrination, and I should stress, his journey may look like what we've outlined here, or it may look different in places. This video is not comprehensive. But now he's swallowed every pill he cares to, he blames half a dozen minorities for everything he sees as wrong with the world, and no one will give him anything to do. You've got this ad hoc movement frothing young men into a militant fervor, and then just leaving them to stew in their own hate. Should we really be surprised at how many commit mass shootings? This is a machine for producing lone wolves. Leaving men to take up arms of their own volition is a way of enacting terror while being just outside the popular conception of a terror cell. There are also, of course, more classic militias that will offer Gabe clear directives. They are recruiting from the same pool, and Gabe may stop short of this, settling in a middle layer that suits him or finding the inner layers too extreme. But violence is the logical conclusion of an ideology of hate, and should Gabe take this step, he can approach violence in the same incremental fashion he approached conservatism. He can start with yelling at people on Twitter, and then maybe collective brigading, DDoS attacks,
What about you, Patrick?
sharing docs, leaking nudes, calling their phone numbers, texting them pictures of their houses from the sidewalk. These acts of cruelty become games of one-upmanship within his community. All this can start as far back as step 2 and get more intense the deeper he goes. And some people join explicitly to partake in harassment and violence the way Gabe joined to talk about anime. But this behavior can serve as a kind of buy-in. The left and the feminists and the LGBTQs and the Muslims and the immigrants are all within his community subhuman. You've maybe heard the conservative catchphrase, feminism is cancer. Well, you don't treat cancer by having a respectful exchange of ideas with it, but by eradicating it down to the last cell. Cruelty against the left is framed as necessary and righteous. From any other perspective, posting someone's bank information is something you might feel ashamed of, which creates a psychological imperative not to consider other perspectives. A thing that keeps people in is staving off the guilt they will reckon with the moment they step out. Gabe is also aware that anything he's done to the left could be done to him if he leaves. Some communities even keep docs on their members as insurance. And the things he's encouraged to do to the left will likely make him feel that the left would never take him now. The radical right is the only home he's got.
I don't know. I've been doxxed before.
Becomes another tool of isolation.
All y'all.
Steadily,
no
options for Gabe are whittled down to being a
political
vigilante
ideology
or a nihilist. There are periods of elation, moments the alt-right feels it's winning, or more accurately, the people they hate are losing, or like cocaine, they are authoritarians after all. But the times in between are mean and angry. They are antisocial, starved of emotional connection, consuming incompatible conspiracies that may at any point run them afoul of one another, devoted to figureheads who cater to but cannot risk leading them, and living under constant threat of being outed to the left or turned on by the right for stepping out of line. Gabe took this journey for the sense of community and purpose, and but for the rare moments everything goes their way, the alt-right can't maintain either. They can only keep promising his day will come, a story he could get from a $5 palm reading. The feeling there's nothing left but to kill yourself or someone else is so common, it's a meme. But there is a third option.
That's so fucked.
Gabe can leave. Pre-conclusion, for fuck's sake, do not make Gabe your whole ass praxis. Before we continue, I want to state plainly that Gabe went off the deep end because he found a community willing to tell him that because he is a cishet white man, the world revolves around him.
I'm 42.
Do not treat him like this is true. If a fraction of the energy spent having debates with America's Gabes were spent instead on voter reenfranchisement, prisoners' rights, protections for immigrants, statehood for DC, and redistricting, Gabe's opinions, in the societal sense, wouldn't matter. Reactionary conservatism is a small and largely unpopular ideology that is only so represented in our culture and politics because they've learned how to game the system. And I get it. Those are huge problems that are going to take years to address, where if you know a Gabe, that's a conversation you could have today. And if you think you can get through to him, it's worthwhile to try. This is a fight on many fronts, and de-radicalization is one of them. But it is only one. So please keep it in perspective. It sends an awful message when we spend more time trying to get bigots back on our side than we do the people they are bigoted against. Your value as a lefty does not hinge on whether you can change Gabe's mind. Conclusion. How Gabe gets out. He may just grow out of it. These communities skew young, and some folks hit a point where hanging out with edgy teens doesn't feel cool anymore. He may become disillusioned after the movement fails to deliver on its many promises. He may become disillusioned if something goes wrong in his life and his community isn't there for him, if he feels they like his race and his gender but don't actually care about him. He may be shocked if he sees the alt-right at its worst before being appropriately conditioned. Charlottesville was a step too far for a lot of people. His community may turn on him for any perceived unorthodoxy, and he may leave out of necessity. He may be separated by circumstance from the community, a trip with no internet, hospitalization, arrest, and not be able to top up on the rhetoric. This may lead him to question his beliefs. His community may disappear, either tearing itself apart or getting shut down by authorities. He may have incidental contact with populations he is supposed to hate, and have trouble reconciling who they are in person with what he's been told about them. In his community, people bond over shared intolerance, but suddenly being tolerant helps him make friends. This is one reason the alt-right has made a battleground of the liberal arts college campus. He may form or revisit relationships outside the network, people who can offer him the connection he's been looking for. This may reintroduce outside perspectives, but more importantly, it rekindles his ability to have healthy relationships at all, something the alt-right has estranged him from. As with recruiters, it seems these escape hatch relationships can sometimes be parasocial, coming to respect a public figure who is on the left or is critical of the alt-right. Someone he is close to may compel him to choose me or the movement. A lot of young men leave to save a romantic relationship.
Yes,
Hearing
but
stories
I
from people
don't,
who've already jumped may help.
like,
There aren't a
advertise
lot
that
of public
here.
formers, and some raise questions as to their sincerity, but it is getting more common and maybe the closest we get to exit counseling for the alt-right. He may become aware of the ways he's being manipulated, or have them revealed to him, maybe because he stumbled into BreadTube, I don't know. Knowledge that you are being indoctrinated is no guarantee it won't work. You are not immune to propaganda, but it can help one resist. And he may revisit a core belief system that used to guide him, be it religion or social justice, or a really wholesome fandom, and be reminded of the identity he used to have. Moments like these, in isolation or in aggregate, can inspire Gabe to jump. They are also good times for friends to intervene. The reach and the impunity that comes with the internet means it has never been easier to fall into reactionary conservatism. It has also never been easier to get out. People who exit skinhead gangs often fear for their lives. For Gabe, there's a chance getting out is as simple as going to a different website. Much of his community does not know his name or his face, and he may not be important enough to dox. What doesn't get Gabe out, not reliably, not that I have seen, is an argument with a stranger who proves all his facts wrong and his ideology bunk. Facts don't always work, because facts don't care about his feelings. This was about staying in a community and holding on to an identity that mattered to him. It was about belonging. And that is something a rando from the other side of the culture war can't give him and probably shouldn't be responsible for. The theme here is human connection. Before he can do the work of disentangling himself and facing the guilt of what he's believed and maybe done, he has to know there's something for him on the other end of it.
This is a safe place to de-radicalize yourself, guys.
They've told him
If
all
you
of
are
history
radicalized,
is groups fighting each other over
we
status,
can
and
have
that
a
without
reasonable
his clan
conversation
he'll be
about
in
it.
exile. He needs a
There's
better
lemonade
story.
and cookies.
I don't know that lefty spaces are ideal for this, in no small part because bringing
Watch some
someone
cat
who's
videos on
a
YouTube.
bit of a Nazi but working on it into diverse communities is
Oh, Patrick, I
questionable,
appreciate
and
you.
it probably wouldn't be good for him
Thank
either.
you.
Having just gotten out of a toxic belief system, he's going to be deeply skeptical of all ideologies. In a perfect world, people who care about Gabe could build for him, to use a therapy term, a holding space. Someplace private, physical or digital, where Gabe can work out his feelings, where he is both encouraged and expected to be better, but is not in the moment judged. That comes later. It is delicate and time-consuming work that should not be done in public, but we find these beliefs built up over the course of months or years tend to fall away very quickly with a shift of environment. Change Gabe's surroundings and you change Gabe. But instead, a lot of people who jump are functionally deprogramming themselves, which is working for a lot of them, but it's haphazard, and there are recidivists. If you don't personally know a Gabe
You sound
or
like
have
Gooner
training as a
Gooch.
counselor, you may not be in a position to help him. Possibly there are things you can do to disrupt the recruitment
You sound
process
just
or
like
prevent
Gooner.
infiltration of spaces you're in. I'm looking into it, but
Fuck that guy.
talk to your mods. But elephant in the room, meaningful change will require reform on the part of platform holders. Tools to disrupt this process already exist and are being used on groups like ISIS, but they're not being used on the alt-right because they try oh so hard not to get classified as terrorists. And also any functioning anti-radicalization policy would require banning a lot of conservative politicians. So there's that. But what makes our story better than theirs is that the fight for social and economic justice, though it is long and difficult and frustrating, when it works, it fulfills the promise the right can't keep. It materially makes people's lives better. I am not prone to sentimentality or to giving these videos happy endings, but one thing we have that the alt-right doesn't is hope.
was. It was this girl talking about. It's okay, I can't find it. I give up. I'll find it later. Men have no soul. The fuck is this clickbait? Oh, they got me. Alright, I have a selection of videos for us to watch.
Still planning your day in the Stone Age?
Remember
We've
how I said
evolved
I wasn't
beyond
going to
pen
talk
and
about
paper
politics on
to
this channel?
schedules that think for themselves.
I got lazy and I
Planners
never
are a
made
thing
my
of the
politics
past.
channel,
I was
so
diagnosed with
we're still
ASD
here.
level 1, which means
I didn't
that,
get lazy. I got overwhelmed.
compared to
This is
other
different.
people on
Different
the autism
things.
spectrum, I have
I don't
lower
think he
support
shits his pants
and compared to
at
like
all.
holistic
He looks like someone who doesn't.
neurotypical
I
people,
think he can go
I
to the
have
bathroom by himself.
substantially more support needs, and I've seen like
But I
a
don't
lot
think
of
he shits himself.
conversation online
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to the person
people
talking about their
who
experience right now. I'm so sorry. I
may
respect
not
you, bro.
fully
I'm just making a
understand
joke.
what low support needs autism looks like, or they might not understand like exactly what it means. And I will be honest, I've seen a lot of this coming from
And crying and feeling lowers
parents
your
of
testosterone.
higher support needs autistic children. Not only those people, but I've seen a lot of this conversation coming from them, where, to sum it up, they're saying that like level or ASD level 1 or lower support needs autism, it shouldn't be in the same category as autism, or that it's not real autism, or that it shouldn't be considered a disability. And it's kind of hard because I can try to see like all the perspectives in this, and I can see that like, okay, I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time, the place that they're coming from isn't based in facts. It's not based in reality, and I think it's just their own view, or should I add their own ableist view of what level 1 autism actually looks like. And the truth is that there isn't one specific look to ASD level 1, just as there isn't one specific look to anyone on the autism spectrum. And we're all different. And in this video today, I wanted to kind of talk about how ASD level 1 presents for me. Before I go any further, I want to start by saying that this is not to
My
be
diet been
used
recently
as
eating
a
out a lot.
diagnostic tool.
Mm,
Obviously, I'm not a medical
no.
professional. I'm just
I
an
ordered some
autistic
groceries.
person talking about my experience and
This is a donut
sharing
stick.
things that I've
This
learned
is not
about
great.
myself and how it
This is
relates
not healthy.
to autism. This is for informational
But it's in front of
purposes
me,
only.
and I wanted a snack.
And if you relate to some of these
Yesterday
things,
I
it
had
doesn't
miso glazed
necessarily
salmon and
mean you're
sweet potatoes.
autistic. And if you don't relate to these things, it doesn't
And
mean
rosemary
that you're not
focaccia bread.
autistic. This is literally just me sharing
It was
about
real
my
good.
experience and what I've learned about myself, and how the challenges that I have in this life relates to my diagnosis of autism spectrum level 1. And I want to make this video in an effort to just kind of like educate people that a lot of the disabling aspects of my autism, and I think for a lot of lower support needs and or high masking autistic folks, aren't necessarily visible from someone looking on the outside in. especially strangers who might not really know that person fully.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially people on the internet who see one video and are super dismissive and super ableist and super just like
When I would show symptoms of my autism as a kid, I would get screamed at because they didn't know I was autistic. I would shut down, go nonverbal, wouldn't be able to like function in my living space or do things like a normal person would. I just get screamed at. And that made it worse. Like, and the 90s parenting was it was tough parenting, bro. You spank your kids in the 90s. And it just was not good for me. It was not good for me. I would definitely say getting hit as a kid led to me self-harming more. So, just saying.
Judgmental and not being able to see the full picture clearly. So let's just go ahead and get started. Oh, and another thing too is that this is not an exhaustive list. There's so many different things that make me autistic and that I realize now that I'm like, oh, that has to do with my autism. I'm the way that I am in this way because of my autism. But these are just kind of the main things. And I actually did make let me pull it up. I made an Instagram infographic about this. And so if you want to see it more,
It depends. It's different for everyone. I talked about this a little bit earlier, how self-harm can appear differently for different people. And you could look at, like, say, somebody having an addiction to a drug that's really bad for them as self-harm. Like with people with autism, I'm pretty sure addiction rates are higher. Like you're more likely to have substance use issues or food addiction issues.
Going to my Instagram and looking at that infographic. So let's just go ahead and get started. The first thing on my list is challenges with socializing. I find socializing to be not just like foreign to me, but also like really exhausting for me. I don't get much out of socializing. I don't get that like fulfilled feeling from socializing that I think a lot of very extroverted and definitely that some neurotypical people get from socializing. I find it to be awkward. I find that I have to use a lot of brain power that I might not necessarily have. I find that it's hard for me to socialize if I don't see a point to it. And a lot of times I don't. And I'll be honest, I find that for me, in order to like do something social, there has to be like some sort of
I much prefer to go to like a dance where something's being done, or if I'm going to socialize that there's like a goal. Like we're talking about deep things like philosophy or like getting to know someone on a deep level. I don't like small talk that much. Or if we're like doing something like creating something like world building or talking about like things we want to do in the future, like yeah. I don't like to I hated doing customer service. I'm not gonna lie. I had to mask all the time. It was so hard.
sort of net benefit that comes out of that social interaction. And that doesn't mean that I have to personally benefit from that social interaction. It just means that there has to be like something accomplished from that social interaction, whether it is like a business social interaction, or maybe it's like seeing a family member I haven't seen in a while, or maybe it is like actually having a really deep conversation with someone. Those are just some
Bro,
examples
he's like me
where
for
I'm
real, for
like,
real.
yeah, I would want to partake in that social interaction. But if it's just like socializing just to be social, just to like go have fun, like I don't find that fun. I don't find that entertaining. And I actually find it to be really exhausting. And when I socialize, like I said, it requires a lot of brain power and effort and energy that a lot of times I just don't have. And so afterwards, I will feel like really drained and really tired and just like fatigued. And in the past, I wouldn't really know like why I was so tired for days after doing something social, and I realize it now. The other thing with socializing is
If I remember it from real, I relate though, bro, for real, for real. I love this song. Survive. Did I disappoint you? Have I crossed the line? People memories of who I was before. Have I crossed the line? No, I can't find the sign now. Lights shine above me. Did I disappoint you? Have I crossed the line? I shine on light. memories of who I was before. Oh no, I have to change this. It's copywriting it on YouTube. Am I doing stream late tonight? Yes, I'm probably gonna switch other platforms, but yes.
Gentlemen, fellas, I know what you care about. So let me start this one off by telling you that patriarchy is stopping you from getting laid. That's right, if it wasn't for patriarchy, you'd have a way easier time finding partners both seriously and casually. And you wouldn't even have to put in a fraction of—
Wait, is it blocking my stream? Your stream has been temporarily blocked. No! Maybe on YouTube, but so far YouTube's yelling at me. No copyright. Fuck. Listen, buddy. Bodies on the line now. I can't fight this time now. I can feel the light shine on my face. Did I disappoint you? Fuck! Fuck! Did I cross the line, YouTube? I'm gonna try and restart it. I'm gonna restart the YouTube stream. YouTube, don't give me a strike.